I'm Reece.
And I'm Dea.
And we are Literally Dead. Halloween special. Today I am pumpkin snatched. I have a sexy little pumpkin outfit, 6-inch stripper boots, and a loose hole.
And I am your favourite nomosexual witch. I have a little hat on. I have a beautiful little robe. And my babs are out.
I was joking. It's tight.
I wasn't joking. My babs are out.
Happy Halloween!
And today we're really excited to announce we have a special guest.
Yes, we're doing a guest episode.
Let's conjure her into existence.
Today we have Mariela, a very close friend of ours.
And our little guinea pig. What are you dressed as, Mariela?
I am dressed up as Jason Voorhees cosplaying a Halloween fan.
It's so meta. I love that.
I love it, actually.
And no, thank you.
Are you going to wear the mask the whole time? I'll take that as a yes.
Did Jason Voorhees ever take his mask off?
Yeah,
Don't answer
multiple
that.
times.
The mask
And do you like what's underneath?
No.
Yeah, so I'll keep it on.
Does everything else come off?
Does the mask
After the episode's finished.
Oh, well, let's get through this then.
Yeah, we're gonna be having like a whole pumpkin patch.
Oh my god.
I just want to show my heel to the people at home. Okay, cool. Mariela, tell us about your interest in film.
So, well, obviously I'm here because I'm interested in a lot of horror movies. I'm interested in a lot of psychological thrillers. And I'm also interested in a lot of things that have a lot of gothic elements as well, purely because I had a whole semester and module during the summer in my university doing gothic literature. And you know what? If anywhere I'm going to be showing off my 9,000 pounds of student loan debt, it's going to be here for that.
Make it work for you, babe. That's what we're doing.
Work.
I'm making it work for you. Keep that in mind.
This is why you get a film degree to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
This is why you also don't get a degree to also do this.
Yeah. You don't need a degree to do this.
Anyway, happy Halloween and cheers.
Happy Halloween! So, Mariela, tell us, what makes a gothic film?
Well, actually, a lot of elements can make a gothic film. So a little bit about the history of Gothicism. It's actually way more expansive than you think it is. It goes back all the way to kind of the late 300s to the early 400s with the kind of the Goths, which aren't the ones from Hot Topic, if that's what you're thinking. It's talking about the sort of nomadic Germanic sort of area in the world back then. And they were called, let me just remind myself, the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths. And during that time, these Germanic tribes were waging war with the sort of Roman side of the world, to which they managed to win. And they basically plunged the sort of like Roman area into what could be equivalent as the Dark Ages.
Oh, wow.
Which is what later on, a lot of sort of it inspired a lot of like the architecture that we kind of associate with Gothicism today.
Oh, okay.
Which kind of came back into trend during the sort of, I don't quite remember which era of like England it was, but later on in England, they kind of wanted to like revive that era, the like Gothics, the cathedrals, the sort of like the more pointed, the more arches, the sort of like the darker aspects of architecture. And that's kind of where it sort of became more of a architectural trend and architectural style. But yeah, that's basically like the origins of the Goths and the Gothics and basically Gothic architecture. But it's not also just that. It's also has a lot to do with literature and storytelling, which is what we're going to get into today with the movie, right?
Yeah.
You know what, folks? I think that's the smartest thing that's ever been said on here.
I think that's the smartest thing I've ever said as well.
This is the most intellectual episode we've ever had.
Are you feeling my 9,000 pound education right now?
Oh my god, your degree is so big.
I mean, before this, I think it was when Dea went into lesbians and vampires.
Oh my god.
And that was just because she loves lesbians.
Why was I not here for that? That's gothic enough.
All right, cool. So today, the film that we watched was...
It was The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which came out very recently. I believe it came out last year.
Yeah, 2023.
Wow.
Yeah. It is a film based on the voyage between...
It's based around the part in Dracula in between the first part of the book where he's in the castle, basically tormenting Jonathan Harker, and the second part of the book in which he's in England, in Whitby, tormenting his partner. And in the book, it's not so much of a big deal. This part of his journey is just kind of like it's done in like 2 chapters.
Yeah, but there are captain notes, and that the captain notes from the Dracula novel is actually what inspired this film.
It's a really interesting point of view. I thought, because you don't really usually when you think Dracula, you think castles, you think small towns next to the sea. You don't actually think like of ships.
Yeah.
It was definitely a more original sort of setting, and especially it's quite an unusual setting for also a Gothic film, because you know the most like locations we associate with Gothicism is like big castles, these huge architectures, or these like dark forests, dark
cemeteries,
woods, yeah, cemeteries, stuff that's on the ground, right?
It's very grounded.
Yeah, very grounded. So now here we're at sea, and we're sort of kind of expanding on basically the style through that, and yeah. It's pretty original and unique in that sense.
Refreshing too.
Yeah, quite so.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Gothic is underutilized. Yeah,
I think it's also a great it's a very closed off setting. So there's no easy way outs for the crew of the ship. Who are the main characters of the film?
It's definitely a self-contained horror.
I really enjoy that. Sometimes I get bored of like grandiose storytelling when it's too much, and it's always the world at stake, and it's always the biggest thing on the planet, you know? Sometimes smaller, intimate horrors with only a few people can be more or just as effective as those kind of stories.
Agreed. Okay, should we get into the film?
Yes.
Oh, before we do that, I actually have a little thing for you guys for inviting me as my thank you. I wanted to contribute to your setting. And so I brought this little guy who might ensure some more
Is it a
atmosphere.
ghost? Oh,
look at it.
Oh my god.
Of course it is.
Just let
so
you
cute.
listeners know, she has just gifted us a cute little ceramic ghost.
The thing is, it's supposed to light, but the batteries have run out, and I already splurged enough for the ghost. I'm not. You're buying the batteries.
It's cute enough.
It's cute enough.
That's cute. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad to have it.
So, we're going to do a quick spoiler-free synopsis, and then those who wish to leave and come back after they've watched the film can do so. And those who wish to stay can stay.
Please stay.
Please stay. The crew of the Demeter attempt to survive a voyage with a dark force on board. Okay.
That was it.
Basically, yeah.
So if you piqued your interest to go watch it, do so.
Go watch it. It's a
But
good
if it didn't pique it enough, then stay and we'll spoil it.
film.
Please stay. It should be peaked. So we open up on a dark and rainy sort of harbor side. Well, not quite the harbor side. It's a sort of like hillside with the ocean right there. And there's a lot of chaos. A lot of what seems like towermen and watchmen are coming out into the rain, going towards the ocean sides and where the like rocks and cliffs are, because there has been a shipwreck, a giant shipwreck right at the coast, and they're approaching, and they eventually find the captain's log, where it goes on to detail the sort of horrors of what they had witnessed on the ship, and detailing that if someone is currently reading that log in that moment, then it's probably already too late, and whatever monster they tried to contain has already kind of reached its destination.
And the officer who read that thing was like shivering. He was traumatized after reading the captain's notes.
He was like flicking through the pages like, no, there must be more, there must be. No.
I love the opening. I thought it was so ominous and scary to read that, to start at the end of the film. Obviously it's one of those, it's not original, but to start with such a warning that if you've read this, then it's already too late.
Definitely. And especially if you've read the book, there's a little intertitle that says this is taking place in Whitby, and the date as well. And so you know at this point Dracula's reached his destination.
And you know the horrors that follow that.
Yeah. So it's almost like how can, like, you wonder what has happened on this boat and why should you be following this story, because if everybody's dead already.
Yeah.
But it's a great film, so keep watching.
So after that amazing opening, we cut to 4 weeks earlier. This time we are at a harbour that's bustling.
In the daytime.
It's bright. There are a lot of people going around, a lot happening, and we see that there is a line of men queuing, hoping to be recruited for a job.
There's 3 spaces to be filled out, and one of the first men to sort of speak up is a guy that kind of describes himself as, I'm as strong as an ox, and he sort of gets like looked over, and they move down the line to this, and this is worth mentioning, to this young black man who kind of tries to advertise himself as, I'm an astronomer, I have this like high education, you could
From
really
Cambridge, right?
Yeah, he went to Cambridge.
Very impressive. And
he was a doctor.
And yeah, he was also a doctor. So he's like, I could be of use to you. And they're basically going like, we need more brawn than brain. And so they overlook him. And they go down the line. They eventually pick the ox guy, and they pick 2 more. And we kind of like move on, and we think, oh, our main guy was not getting picked.
Sorry, let me just check my note.
But yeah, after the picking, we cut to the ship that is actually doing this job, and we can see that they're starting to put the cargo on. They're sort of putting on these huge boxes that are being lifted up. And during this older man has an interaction with one of the characters who are on the ship, and he gives them a warning, says that, there's something wrong. It's that classic.
It's classic old man who knows what's going on.
And he's like,
said,
beware.
don't do something.
The ominous warning.
And everyone's going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because who believes in
Which,
some
do
guy?
you think that is a motif of Gothic?
A motif of Gothic is the idea of something of the past coming into the present, something previous haunting the future. Because that's what's supposed to sort of be like the worrying thing. Because by the principle of, time and space, you can only move forward. So the idea that something like the past can be chasing the present and even might catch up to it is something like, it is kind of an ominous, always been an ominous motif. Think like family curses, think like historical lineages. Like, for example, think let's like the inspector calls how everybody is like living their lives, and then what comes knocking at their door? An inspector who has all of their dirty little past secrets coming in to like haunt them and affect them in the present. So there's definitely gonna like the motif of there being this like some sort of prophecy or like curse or something coming for you, like an ominous warning coming towards the present, is absolutely a Gothic theme, like in general. So I'm not surprised it was like in here.
And then right after that, they start loading these crates from the harbour, which is Varna, by the way. Yeah, I don't know. I read the titles.
If you're confused, I'm from Varna. That's why.
Did it remind you of home 100 years ago?
Oh, I could smell the smell from here. It's pungent.
But the ox guy, he sees the sigil that's on one of the boxes, and it's a dragon. And he almost drops the box on a little boy.
He does drop it.
Oh,
Yeah,
But luckily, our astronomer / doctor,
Clement was his name.
Clement, jumps in and saves the boy from the box dropping. And the captain and the other crew get very angry at the ox man, and they say, "Why would you do that?" And he said, "You didn't tell me that it was a dragon. That's dangerous. That's cursed. I won't do this." It's very ominous. Again, a second warning.
And he's like they basically want to fire him, but he himself is like, no, I'm leaving. Like, you can keep your money.
You can't fire me.
I'm out.
But then the astronomer, who was overlooked at first and told that they needed strength, they make an exception for him because the captain has a fondness for this young boy. We believe he may be his grandson.
That was our theory, yes.
I couldn't tell if they mentioned it or brought it up, but functionally in the narrative, he basically acts like a grandson to the captain, who is very fond of him. He basically treats him like family.
So because the astronomer saved him,
yeah,
he allows him to board the ship and be one of the crewmates.
One of the funniest lines in this scene is, "An Englishman. I've never known many Englishmen that want to go back." So fucking relatable.
True. Well, but they're in Varna, so they want to leave.
The one place did want to leave.
Yeah. And then the ship sets sail.
Yeah, and we're on the ship, and we're sort of following along the perspective of this astronomer as he's an outsider to the ship. Most of these crew members have worked together before. He's pretty much the only newbie.
Apart from the 2 other guys.
Where were we?
So,
Our
the ship
astronomer-
sets sail, and the astronomer is taken on a lovely tour of the boat
By the little boy.
Toby.
Toby is his name.
We're
It's very
introduced.
sweet.
We're introduced to a little dog.
Huckleberry, yeah.
Toby shows us how he looks after the livestock on the ship and how that's his job. And he also shows the little technique for sort of knocking for an emergency, which is knocking on the wood of the ship, which echoes throughout the ship. So if you're in the bottom of it, the front, the back, you can knock and it will sort of send a signal throughout the ship and people will know that you need their assistance.
It's really the only cool bit of sound design in this movie, which is the knock that goes through the ship, because it comes up again and again and again, and you're going to be reminded of it even before it's used in an emergency. So it really hammers it into you that the knocking is important straight away. He also introduces us to the cook, who we find is very religious. Says, I don't feed heathens. Do you know who St. Nicholas is? And first thing I said, oh yeah, it's Santa.
And then I said, the patron saint of prostitutes. Look that up.
Apparently he's the patron saint of sailors.
Sailors, darling, sailors.
Not Santa
same
Claus.
difference.
Yeah, I also thought that the little child actor who plays Toby was quite good.
I did comment that the child actor was quite competent. It was
all the acting in this was really good.
Yeah, they were all great. Yeah.
Also, I'd like to say we also hear a conversation at the same time from the captain, who lets one of the crew members know that this is his last trip.
Yes.
Which, can I just say, please never get on a boat or a plane where it's the captain or pilot's last trip.
And never go to a small town where it's the sheriff's last case.
No.
It never goes well.
He is speaking to this guy called Wojciech, who is his first mate, and he says, I will pass this ship down to you when I leave.
So he's like the co-captain, basically.
Yeah, the co-captain at this point, Wojciech.
And he becomes kind of an obstacle, well, a bit of a hindrance for a few times, but for now he's all right.
For the most part, I forgot he was there, to be honest, until the end.
He was...
Yeah, I can't lie.
Much like co-captain, it's mainly the captain that's doing the work.
Well, someone else is doing his job. There's no reason to know him.
No.
Yeah.
I will say after this, you get an ominous scene where we see rats sort of running through the ship. And there's one point where a rat runs over this man who's shirtless. And I will say... As the rat runs down him, your eyes sort of follow the rat, and he just gets more and more naked, or at least you become more aware of it.
I saw he was shirtless, and then the rat ran down his torso, and I saw bare leg, and I was like,
I got slashed.
Nearly. Thank God there was something covering him, but
Which one? I don't know.
Very bold.
But he was sleeping naked. There was definitely just one piece of fabric just covering the thingamabob.
He get one kick of the duvet and he's gone.
No, which be considering you're sleeping right above and underneath somebody else.
Sleeping in the same room as a
naked.
child. But no one gives a damn.
But the rat crawling over that naked guy actually alerts us to something, and that is one of the crates with the dragon sigil on it is being opened from the inside.
Slowly.
Very ominous.
Yeah, but we don't get more of that yet.
No, we don't.
We get to a dinner scene with all the crew. And here everybody's talking about what they're going to do with all the money they're about to get. They're having a big bonus because they're taking the pack.
And they're going really fast, taking a speedy way. And if they get there within 2 weeks, I think it is.
They get a bonus.
They get a bonus, which is big for them.
Yeah.
No, it was 4 weeks, wasn't it? Original. Or are we...
I don't remember the time
I guess it would be 4 weeks.
It was 4 weeks, yes.
Yeah, it would be 4 weeks.
Yeah, so if they get straight there on time, they'll be getting a huge bonus. And so they're just talking about how what they want to spend their bonuses on. And then we get to Clemens, who, well, he's new. And they ask him, oh, what are you gonna what do you desire? What do you want to spend your money on? And Clemens basically gives a very enlightened guy answer, where he goes into...
just say horse and whiskey. What is this?
He does not want to fit in,
He's
apparently.
I don't need money. I just need the earth.
He has this whole philosophy. He's like, I need the world to make sense. And the captain's like, the world needs to be experienced.
Yeah, not understood.
Yeah.
So you see the kind of difference in their opinion because of their education or their age or their experience or all that kind of thing.
Clement desires to understand the world, and the captain tells him, well, you have to experience it.
Yeah.
That's a pretty interesting way of thinking.
Yeah. But the thing is that it does come up again once, but only in Clement's way and not in the captain's way. And so it kind of does feel irrelevant, this debate in the beginning, because the captain's way is never, debated either. It's just one perspective we get.
I agree.
In the sense that
We only get Clement's perspective on the world. And I think that if we wanted to have a philosophical debate about whether the world should be understood or experienced, then we should have had multiple perspectives. And that is how the book is laid out. Dracula, the book, is laid out that way. But I understand it is difficult to do that in a film. So that makes sense why.
I get that. I mean, at the end of the day, he experienced plenty. I think he wants to just do theories at this point.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, at the end of it all, I think that he's like understands the world less.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I would.
And yeah, but yeah.
Then an alarming scene happens where all of the animals all of a sudden go crazy. They start howling and
Yeah, they're spooked.
Yeah.
and we're wondering why. So Toby and also Clement go to check on the animals, and they're just freaking out, absolutely going wild.
Yeah.
And Clement said a line that I like, which was, they're sensing a storm, which I thought was great foreshadowing. Obviously, we know there's not a storm coming, but there is definitely something.
A metaphorical storm.
There's a metaphorical storm coming. And so I really liked that line being in there. It's ominous. I like that. I like foreshadowing.
And then there's a noise in the cargo hold. And so Toby's sent away to get the captain, and Clements goes to investigate. And that's where he finds the open crate. And there's just a mound of dirt there. It's like the whole crate is just dirt.
Yeah. Mind you, the reason that the box is opened is because it wasn't stored properly.
Yeah.
The rope had slipped out and it was all wonky. So, not to say anything, but if they had just done their job properly, maybe none of this would have happened. But we don't know.
To be fair, I believe the whole point was for the creature that's going to come out is that the whole point was that it will come out at some point because it needs to eat the crew in order to survive the voyage.
Well, I didn't know that. I wasn't at that part of the film yet.
Oh, am I skipping
Well,
ahead?
he digs and digs and digs in this box, and he finds a woman who's buried, and she is emaciated. She's pale, she's grey, she's like got like, I guess we don't see it yet, but she's like not doing well.
She seems unconscious, but she's making noises.
Yeah, she's like
Very weird. Which, by the way, I couldn't work on a ship. I just wanted to say that.
Why not?
Because I was being so judgmental about their handiwork, and I was like, I couldn't do that. You kidding me? I'm not made for that. Maybe like a ship cook. No, no, I refuse.
It's okay. You'll just be the ship whore.
What?
They all need one.
You're a manly man, so
Yeah.
could you work on a ship?
Look at me.
You do look like you work on a ship. I would say we were walking the other night, and you were wearing a hoodie, and from behind, I genuinely was like, I would profile you.
The
You
police
look
did.
dodgy.
The police did. The police car literally drove by and it slowed down as it saw me.
They were just making sure you were white, and once they saw that, they're like, "Oh, hey, let her go."
It had to take a second because it was dark, but it was white.
So sorry. Clement takes this unconscious girl into sort of like a workspace that he can use to perform medicine. And the captain sees her. They call her a stowaway. Think that she's snuck in to get a free ride. And he says that she needs a blood transfusion, which is quite impressive for the time. And he gives her blood. I think he uses his own blood, does he?
I don't remember whose blood he used.
Well, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
No, and then there's some sexist guy on the ship called Petrovsky, and he's like, "Women are bad luck on the ship. Don't let them on the ship. Toss them overboard."
I think he was just like gay, and he was really upset.
He was like, "My boys' trip is ruined."
Yeah, he was like, this was 4 weeks, away from sea. I thought I might
A bunch
whittle
of seamen.
you down to like sleep with me, and now there's a woman. No one's gonna be looking at me. That was really bad. But I think that's what he was thinking.
But whilst this was happening, another box opens.
Oh.
And out from that box, we do see very long, very skinny, unhuman limbs, grey, reaching out from them, and
Long
overgrown claw-like nails.
Oh, those nails, man.
I mean, we know the context of the film, so we already assume that must be Dracula.
That must be.
But it's not like your 1931 Bela Lugosi Dracula.
No, he's not handsome.
It's your Nosferatu Dracula.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a little rat guy.
He's a Wendigo with wings.
He does. He looks like the Wendigo from Until Dawn.
He does. He very much gives those.
Very inhuman looking.
Well, human-ish, humanoid looking.
Yeah. Like he was once human, but like centuries ago.
Yeah, it's like he's like he's like trying to fit into a human body, but like it's not right.
And he takes note of the dirt pile that came out of the box with the girl, because she was not supposed to fall out of her box. Mm-mm. And so he takes note of the dirt pile, and he sort of realizes, like, well, there's this moment that you think, like, oh, is he upset? Is he angry? But he definitely has feelings about this dirt pile and her being escaped.
He recognizes something about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now we're back on the, what's the top? The deck of the ship. There you go.
What's the top?
The top. And then we have the lookouts. We have Olgaran and Clemens. And they're having a little chat, and Olgaran's looking through his telescope.
And he turns it around and gets a close-up of Dracula's ugly face.
Very blurry close-up, but
yeah. He freaks out, obviously, because he sees...
I would be freaking out.
This sort of uncanny valley face, and he immediately drops his telescope, but whatever he was looking at was gone.
Yeah.
And but from that point forward, he knows he's seen something hellish and unholy, and he will not shut up about it.
No.
And maybe that's for the best.
You know what? Then
because you need to make some noise about this stuff.
He's just like, oh, there's nothing. I won't tell anyone.
He's just like, everyone else is trying to act like this is some normal thing. It's like, I thought you were more superstitious back in the day. Like, why are you all denying this?
Yeah, you think it's a demon or something?
You would think.
And I was like,
I would think
immediately,
it's a demon, and I believe in science.
immediately afterwards, Clement also gets a view of it.
He does. He gets like a silhouette view of it
In
as
the
he
dark.
like walks across.
I do want to note something though, and I want to make a note of something that Clement said, which I thought was also very representative of something that like keeps reappearing in the Gothic. He says, "I don't believe in superstitions. I believe in science and nature." Now, if anybody's seen Gothic movies or read Gothic books, you will realize that Gothic is so much about the supernatural. It's so much about the preternatural. It's so much about the like something that's not meant to make sense in reality. And the Gothic loves to play on that, is because it's the Gothic by nature tries to kind of challenge the notions of reason, tries to challenge the notions of like logic, where it's trying to make you like realize that like we're human beings, right? And one of the most like unique aspects for us human beings is that we're capable of sense, we're capable of reason, we're capable of rationalization. And so the Gothic tries to challenge that by bringing us down to our most like base instincts and telling us that no, you can't, whatever you want to do against this big force, it can't be trumped with reason, it can't be trumped with logic. You cannot out logic a supernatural being. You need to play on their own field, which is scary, because logic and reason is all we know and it's all we're used to, and it's the only thing that has us grounded. So it not only does it bring us into the unknown, it brings us onto not only a playing field that we're not used to. It's bringing us onto a playing field that is like against this supernatural force, which is worrying. And that's why usually in these movies, it's usually the guy or the girl who's like, there's no such thing as monsters. There's no, nothing's happening. That usually gets killed off pretty quickly. So if Clemens is to survive this, he needs to kind of adapt his view of the world in that moment, and which he does. And do you know what happens? He survives.
Yeah.
Oh, spoiler alert. He survives. He's our main character.
I just wrote, stupid scientists should have believed.
And I just gave you the 9,000. But
it was really good.
But sure, yes, in your terms, yes. Stupid scientists should believe, or stupid scientists should forget everything they're taught and try to think in the way of the supernatural.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And believe what's right in front of his eyes. Mm-hmm. But yes, both of them, Olga with the telescope sees Dracula, and Clement sees Dracula, but they have two different experiences. Clement is in denial, and Olga is now obsessed with the idea that there is something unholy on board.
Yes.
Yeah. But then both of them sort of seem to get off without anything horrendous happening to them.
Everyone's alive.
Sadly, the doggy.
Yeah.
The doggy goes investigating below deck. He's sniffing around. He hears something, and there is a shadowy figure sort of scuttling around, and it attacks him.
Yeah, it does.
Cut to the religious crew member walking in and discovering the dead dog, and also all of the other livestock.
All of the meat on the ship is gone.
Yeah, they're all dead, and they all have these huge gashes around their necks.
And they Clements goes and investigates them and believes that they're probably like infected with something like, you know, rabies, which it's fine if you touch it. However, it's probably not good to consume it. So basically it's rendered all the livestock, which still has meat on their bones, okay? They've only just been bitten.
Literally.
Like, they look fine.
Yeah, they've just had their like blood sucked out a little bit, but otherwise they could have been fine, but they can't because they're infected. So they just have to toss all the food off board.
Which thank God they did, because even though they didn't have rabies, because we know that the dog was attacked by Dracula.
Well, you don't know what Dracula have.
Dracula could have had something else, and that's why
every ancient disease in the book. He is an old bitch.
You think he's got every? You think he got chlamydia?
He's got chlamydia. He's got AIDS. He's got syphilis. Why do you think he looks like that?
He has lived for thousands of years. There is no way he hasn't caught something.
You think he fucks?
Yes, I think.
Do you think he does it? Do you think he does it?
Does he fuck humans?
Maybe not in the way we do.
In the book, he definitely fucked Harker. That's all I'm saying.
He fucked.
He's got like 3 wives, doesn't he?
Fucks.
Oh my God, I can't believe Dracula fucks.
Dracula fucks.
He fucks.
You know what? Because some of them shots, he could. No, I'm joking. He was horrendous. I can't even joke about that. I know I like my bulging man, but no.
I can use my imagination.
You know, I know that's
Put a mask on it.
I did.
I know that's gonna get turned into a clip, but I remember my dad watched one of the clips. He was like, "Dea, you swear so much. You should maybe make your podcast cleaner." And then we just spent 5 minutes going, "Dracula fucks."
Wait, hold on.
I'm sorry.
Is swearing allowed on this podcast?
Yes.
Oh shit! I've been censoring myself for the longest time.
No, when we upload the audio for this, there's a little toggle that says, "Is there like offensive language in this podcast?" And I was like, "Yes." That means we can say whatever we want. Also, we talk about films, almost all of which are like 18 plus.
Yeah.
So
I cuss like a sailor. Thank you for introducing me to this concept. Oh, also, did we mention when he finds the woman, the girl in the box, Clements does a blood transfusion?
yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Well, he does blood transfusions continuously throughout the film. We get multiple scenes of this, so we're not going to mention every time it happens.
Oh, well, yeah,
but we
obviously.
will mention it for this time.
The one
for
time,
you guys.
because there is something important that happened because of it.
He has been blood transfusing her almost basically every day.
Yeah.
She's been
towards the
unconscious.
evening.
She's been unconscious for like a lot of days.
Yeah. And then we have a discussion because now a lot of the food source is gone, and
it's looking bleak.
The crew's not happy. The captain's like scared shitless. The boy's scared shitless. I'm scared shitless.
I want to go home.
I want to go home. And they have a discussion. The captain goes, "Should we turn back or should we keep going for our bonus wage? Because if we go to port now and collect more food, we're not gonna have time to
make the deadline and get the bonus."
Mm-hmm. And they're like, "But I need my whores and whiskey.
I need my money over my life.
I need it." So they decide to put their safety on hold, by the way, to continue to go.
Yeah. And during this discussion too, it gets kind of heated, and there's one character who's definitely like racist.
It's Petrovsky. He's the sexist one too.
And this is why it was relevant to mention that our doctor/astrologer is black, Clement, because the racist says to him, "Darky savage pretending to be a doctor." That's what he says to him, which was absolutely horrible. Speaking of savage though, can I just say that like the animals getting killed by Dracula, I actually loved, because I love when Dracula or vampires in general are sort of displayed as more animalistic. I think when they just drink human blood and not animal, it makes it more like magical, which I'm less into. I like the animalistic. They just need blood, and it might be like lesser quality if it's in animals, but any blood sort of does.
It feels like it makes it almost like a creature alongside the food chain.
Yeah, like an apex.
Yeah.
It turns them into an apex rather than just a magical, mystical being.
Yeah.
Well, from a filmmaking or storytelling standpoint, I really like specifically that the dog got killed, because oftentimes in horror movies there'll be a dog or a cat or a baby that is completely avoided by the killer or the force or monster or
is
whatever.
Saved by the main character.
Yeah.
So that we love them.
And it's to comfort the audience, to give them a little bit of respite, because it's like it might be too much for them if this dog is murdered, right?
AKA that one cat from what was it, the newest
A Quiet Place.
The Quiet Place.
Yeah.
God damn.
Listen, adorable. Frodo was adorable.
Frodo was great. I love Frodo.
Great.
And I love them too sometimes. But in a film like this, where it's so brutal,
Yeah.
it's good that the dog died.
Yeah, especially so early on. It was just like, we don't give a damn.
Yeah,
You
it's
think
like,
the dog's
wow.
cute?
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
wow, like no one's safe.
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
And then it cuts back to, in mid-discussion, it cuts back to the woman, and the monster, or Dracula, feeds on her and he whispers her name. He goes, Anna. So now we know her name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's convenient. Thanks, Drac.
Nice.
And then the sun starts to set.
Yeah.
And we get towards evening, day 2, sort of. Or it might be a few days skip. I don't know. But we get clear shots of Dracula. I was
my
actually
God,
quite shocked
yeah.
about this. So early on in the film,
Yeah.
we see shots of Dracula sort of huddled in a corner. Seems to be something wrong with him. Like he's not fully.
Like he's crawling on the
Yeah,
ground
he's
like
a
a
bit,
snake.
he's crippled a little bit.
Yeah, and we get these like few shots of him, and we don't see him again for a few scenes. But that was just very shocking to me that we saw him so explicitly so early on. But I thought, okay, you know what? We all know what we're getting into watching this film. We're going to see Dracula, so there's no point in hiding him, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He's not this sort of like scary thing that we don't know what's out there. We know exactly
Yeah.
what's out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, he's going to be attacking our crew. We're going to eventually see him.
We have a discussion between Olgeron and Clemens about whether it was supernatural or not, because Olgeron's like, you should have backed me up in there and told everyone it was supernatural, like I said, because it was, and you saw it too the other night. And he's like, no, I didn't see nothing, you're crazy, blah, blah, blah.
A moment, can I just say, during this like whole discussion, like a moment of appreciation, just for like the staging and stuff when it comes to the Gothic, is I loved the scenes below deck. I mean, the ones above too, but below, because it was very shadowy, which to me is very Gothic. But also they had these like wonderful lamps, obviously because of the time period. They had these like oil lamps.
Oh, yes.
That just lit up the spaces like really well in some shots. Like I love it. You just said this like pearl of orange and this like echoing light throughout this like shadowy plane, and then because of that light, because of the limited light source, it created so many shadows. And even when it wasn't one of the tense scary scenes, it still felt so Gothic and spooky and dark.
Yeah, it gives enough sort of like a light where it feels very intimate from what we can see, but beyond that there is just total darkness.
Yeah, and I also think that like a very Gothic thing too is like storms and rain, and
Yeah.
being out at sea I think was so beneficial because it almost felt like it was always raining. I mean,
Yes.
it does rain sometimes, and that's even
lot of
more
times.
effective. But even when it's not raining, there is still the gushing of the sea and the sounds of the water, which to me was still gave Gothic.
Yeah, it's like everything, like even nature is chaotic.
Yeah, nature is chaotic.
We get throughout the film we also get lots of like narration from the captain as it's from his log, and in this one it says it's been for a few days and food is sparse and the crew is not happy. To be fair, it was their own decision to stay on this boat. They could have gone back and got more food,
It's true.
It's
but they
true.
chose not to.
And they're complaining about it.
They're like, oh yeah, let's pray over cabbage and potatoes for the next 2 weeks. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck
I could
off.
live off cabbage. I love cabbage and I love potatoes.
I love
Because you're a
potatoes.
freak. Anyway.
You like salty milk.
No, she doesn't like kefir.
That's a cultural thing, okay?
No, she likes the other one.
What's the other one?
What?
What's the one you like?
Oh, which one? What?
Salty
what-
milk.
Ayran.
There we go.
What?
Ayran.
Ayran.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
It's a saltier yogurt drink. It's basically regular yogurt mixed with water and salt.
Okay.
Purr.
Don't yak my yum.
And then Toby is talking to Clemens about the woman because he's been tasked with looking after her when Clemens is out doing his other things. And he says that in her sleep she keeps saying the word in, I think it's Bulgarian or Romanian, feed.
Yeah, it's definitely Romania, but yeah, feed.
Yeah, feed
Feed.
in her sleep. And then there's another discussion. There's a lot of talking in this film.
There's a lot of talking, so we're gonna try and condense it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And if it sounds like we're not, trust me, we are.
we are. It's a great film, but it's a lot of talking.
I mean, when
Yeah.
you're just stuck in a boat, what else you can do?
Yeah.
And it's
I'm
not
gonna
necess-
chat shit.
Mhm.
And he's speaking to the cook, and the cook says, "There's no rats on the ship. A ship without rats is unnatural."
Yeah, it goes against nature.
They're like, where did they all go? Which we know Dracula's been eating him because we even saw them in the beginning.
Yeah.
So the rats were there.
There were like dozens and dozens of rats, and it gets kind of boiled down to they're either running away from whatever it is or they're getting devoured by whatever is out there.
They're eaten or they're drowned. Would you guys rather be eaten or drowned?
drown? Because am I eaten alive?
Well,
Like the people in, like, if it's Dracula, like
Sucking my blood to death?
yeah.
Oh, that's so complicated. I don't actually know which one's worse.
I feel like if I die the way Dracula, okay, because it feels like no, because some of his kills feel agonizingly slow.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
it was like the type of Dracula kill where it's just like a cutesy grr into your neck and you're like, no, not the bulbous, and you like die.
Oh my god, you've been waiting to say that, haven't you? You have held yourself. He would not shut up about that meme.
I haven't said it in hours. Hours.
And there we go. Here it is, just exploding
The
now.
point is, if it's a cutesy one like that, maybe that's better than the absolute terror of drowning. But if it's closer to Dracula from this film, who is animalistic and just gouges at you, like takes chunks out of your flesh, that might be worse.
It's because drowning is also painful.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I don't. You know what? You need to give me like some criteria, some bullet points on what is gonna happen, what is happening, what is he doing.
You know what's so
I
funny?
don't know. I've never
You know
been
what?
eaten.
I was actually almost about to say like, oh, gun to your head, you either have to be killed by Dracula or drown. I was like, take the gun. Take the gun.
Take the gun.
Like what is the threat here? Gun to your head. Okay.
Fire.
I'm dying anyway.
Shoot.
There's no rats on the ship. Oh yeah, and then the racist's back. He's on lookout tonight.
Yeah. And he finds a huge hole sort of like at the top of the deck that's sort of smashed through from below the deck. And it's scary because you think, did something break in or did something break out?
And it's implied that something must have broken out because the debris is outside of the thing. He's like even looking at it. And first of all, he seems so unconcerned by that. He just looks at it and is like, eh.
He doesn't start knocking or nothing.
No, he's not concerned at all.
Which he should have been because he hears a weird noise behind him.
Groaning.
And he turns around to this groaning thinking like, oh, what's this? Has one of the boys finally given in? And it's not. No, it is this pale creature, which we know is Dracula. He doesn't know. And it's crawling towards him. It looks limp.
the shadows.
It looks like it's dying. It's almost like it's asking for help. It's wounded almost, it seems.
If you've seen those birds that kind of like pretend to be injured to try and stay like stray predators away from like their nests and stuff, that's almost like how it like looks like. It's just like crawling slowly towards him.
And he's crawling towards him with these like disgusting limbs, and the racist is sort of stunned.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when Dracula is close enough, he pounces into action, making it very clear that he wasn't hurt at all, and he gouges with his nails
Oh my god.
a huge chunk of flesh out of the racist's neck.
Throat, yeah.
Rest is dead.
And he drops his knife at that point.
Yeah, and he falls onto his back. And one thing I thought was so crazy is Dracula still continues to crawl, but crawls up the racist's body and sort of jabs his nails into his body like he was almost like climbing a wall.
Yeah, hooking
which
onto him.
just must have been so painful.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why I hesitate to choose Dracula because the way he kills him is so brutal
And unnecessary.
It's unnecessarily
So
brutal.
unnecessary.
He grabs him and it starts just like clawing at his face. He like twists his neck and like kind of breaks the artery in his neck and keeps twisting his head in an uncomfortable position and then just latches onto him
Until his neck like snaps, but he's still moving.
He's
Still
He's
alive.
He's
Yeah.
still
And he's
conscious.
being drained, and you can see him like moving and twitching.
But it definitely damaged him enough that I think he was paralyzed. I think that he damaged his spine enough that he
Probably, yeah, but
because he seemed like he was almost stuck inside of himself.
he definitely snapped his neck, but like he was still conscious.
He was blinking and like
He was
murmuring.
awake.
Yeah, that was quite brutal. He was just sucking him out like a straw. Probably not the type of sucking he wanted in this entire voyage. Well, I mean, at least he got to die that way.
He died like a Capri Sun.
He got some physical body contact.
Yeah, but
good for him.
Is Dracula what twink
Brutal.
death is?
Dracula comes for all the twinks who've aged out.
Comes?
Huh?
Comes?
Comes? We have a clip like that.
We do. We've already done comes.
Well, now you have a second one.
Comes?
You can never come enough.
He comes for them. You know what? Because if you're gonna ejaculate for something.
Yeah.
Have a purpose.
Give to the world.
Give to the world. Don't be selfish. Share. Otherwise it's for no reason.
What did God say? Spill your seed.
Spill it, girl.
Spill it, girl.
Clip that.
So then Clemens discovers the racist's dead body. And he calls for everyone and he lets everyone know what's going on.
They get suspicious of him for a second, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I killed him with no blood on me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then alerted everyone to it.
Yeah. It's giving Among Us, you know.
And then we see that the woman is slowly waking up.
Yeah.
So we're cutting back from this big discussion and her sort of coming to in the little medical room. And then she comes out onto the deck.
Yeah.
And she starts, shouting like, he's here. He's here. We have to get off. We have to get off.
Yeah,
He's here.
Yeah. Get off the ship. She's begging them to.
Way to prove you're not crazy.
Girl, she just woke up from like a trance.
She got no time. She needs to warn them.
Which, by the way, yes, girl. Because there's two other people who have seen the creature already. And even the one who was obsessed with it and is like, there's an evil presence, isn't even urgent enough.
No.
So her coming out and be like, he's here. Let's go. He's here. Let's go.
Let's go.
She was right.
She was correct.
If they had just gotten on the fucking safety boat, what's it called?
The lifeboat.
If they had just gotten on the little small lifeboat and gone off then while it was still morning and there was a good like 20 hours before he was probably 16 hours before 12 hours before he was going to be awake, they could have gotten away.
This is why if you're in a gothic movie, which I mean, you should know, but if you're in a gothic movie, do not deny. Again, this like fuck reason and logic and rationality.
Anything's possible.
Anything is, the supernatural does not play by those games. You need to play by the supernatural's games. Okay, it's there. Do something about it. Figure it out.
Drink Dracula's blood.
See what happens.
See what happens.
Try. You know what? Because you know what?
Play by his game.
If you do that, good for you for trying. Because that's at least experimenting.
Exactly. Because you're gonna die anyway.
Leave him with a bite mark. At least if you're dead, you know you've left a mark on the world.
Damn.
I like that. That's the
Kinky.
kind of inquisitive thinking I would want to have if I was in this film. I'd be like, what can we do? Let's try something.
He's like in your neck, and you're like, you know what, bitch?
I would have formed a circle. There's no bad ideas. Come on, everyone. I would have been really welcoming.
You would have had a think tank.
I would have had a think tank.
You know what? Fuck it. Dracula, come join in.
Yeah, a talking stick, everything.
Share your feelings, Dracula. Why are you hurting people?
Seriously though, has anyone ever tried talking to him?
No, he's never been through therapy, has he?
No, you know what? He's just hurt.
He is just hurt. Hurt people.
A twink broke his heart one day.
And now he comes for them.
Now he comes for them. I mean, he's always come for them, but now he does it in a different way.
He does it in 2 ways now.
He still does the other way. Yeah.
I found Anna really cryptic here because she's really hesitant to actually say anything of use until Clemens is like, use your words.
Yeah, because she comes out with a lot to say. He's here, let's go, he's here.
Let's go.
They usher her up to another room, and all of a sudden she got nothing to say. She's like cooking or something.
No, she's sitting literally facing the fucking wall.
No, she was doing something.
No, she was like,
She was like playing with her hair.
She was like cooking
I think she
something.
was like doing something with her hands.
Yeah, she was something like fiddling, sewing something. She was doing something productive.
Yeah.
But she was just like refusing to say anything. He's
So
like,
cryptic.
you had this huge warning. What is it? Tell me, please.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh no, I'm just not gonna tell you.
Yeah. And then he's finally like, I can't help you. He's like my mum when we were ill when we were little. She'd go, I can't help you unless you tell me. Use your words.
Yeah, open your mouth and speak, okay?
Yeah, and then she does, but not with enough urgency. She's like, so there's this like monster that used to like plague my village,
And we like offered people to the monster.
and I was offered, and he like feeds on me every night, and he like kills people.
Yeah.
And he's on the ship right now, and he's probably gonna kill us all. I was like, man.
And this is what I actually took note of. She says that they call him Dracula. And she said, the thing that wears the skin of a man. I love that. Because it brought me to another gothic motif, and that's to the gothic motif of the uncanny.
Oh.
Does anybody know? Yeah. So when it comes to the uncanny, usually the definition we use tends to be the I'm sorry to say this, the Freudian definition.
Oh no!
Hear me out. So Freud liked to sort of use the etymology of the word Heimlich and unheimlich, which is the German version for homely and unhomely. Heimlich, homely, and unhomely, unheimlich. And it's sort of to describe something that is supposed to be familiar, that is supposed to be comforting, that is supposed to be known to you, but something about it is just off that you don't recognize it. Okay, that's the idea of like the homely becoming the unhomely, because your home, it's supposed to be a place of comfort, it's supposed to be a place of familiarity, it's supposed to be like something, something that's to protect you, something that is close to you. And when you make the homely unhomely, such as here where it's like he wears the skin of a man. That's making the homely into unhomely. And, that obviously the feeling of uncanniness that comes from that is very disturbing, because it's like you recognize it's almost trying to trick you. This thing is trying to trick you. And it almost has a sense that it feels like you're supposed to trust it. It feels like it's supposed to be familiar to you.
It's like his existence
it's
itself is already doing something wrong.
By existing, you're supposed to recognize it, but there is something just off about it that you might not be able to put your finger on, but you can feel it. And that's the feeling of uncanniness that comes into you. Like you can't.
What?
Come.
What does it do?
Come.
Oh my God.
She said comes into
Guys,
you.
stop coming.
Anyway, it comes into you.
Yeah, the feeling that you get. That's
Speak
what
for yourself.
that's what the uncanny is.
We can't all be lesbians.
Mm-hmm. So that's basically the sense of uncanniness, when something is supposed to be familiar, it's supposed to be recognizable, but something about it is not, and you can't put your finger on it. And I thought this is what kind of Dracula really represents here. It is somewhat of a humanoid creature, but it's so not. It's almost like trying to mimic humanity, and we'll talk about like the fact that it tries to mimic a lot of things throughout the movie. We'll get back to that,
and I will say it's quite interesting, because I think at least I think in most iterations we see more the human side, and then the beast. We sort of get tricked, whereas I feel like this film was like behind the scenes. We saw the animal that it is, and saw that it tries to be human, but we saw it from, you know what I mean? Which I thought was really cool.
Like we'll get to the parts, but where it seems like it's trying to sort of trick and mimic like humanity, but obviously we see it, and that's why it's so weird. That's why.
And she describes him as like sort of between not an animal but not human, and she also says not to underestimate him. But that was amazing. Thank you.
So lovely uncanniness.
Again,
I love it.
This is the smartest episode ever. We usually just like talk about like twinks and coming.
Yeah, please ask them to bring me on again.
Now it's nighttime again, and now we have a storm.
Again.
I'm assuming when I did college, they did a little gothic, but not a lot. But they said nature itself is very gothic in that sense.
Yes.
And so storms and rain is always in like gothic books.
And do you know why? It's because the gothic romanticism. Do you know what romanticism? Okay,
yeah, I know.
Yeah, romanticism is basically one aspect of romanticism and the like art behind romanticism is the like giving yourself up to nature. It's the love of nature, you know. And one aspect that like connects romanticism and the gothic is sort of is sort of nature, like not only being a force to be reckoned with, but a force that can overpower humanity. Because when we think about it, the gothic sort of subverts a lot of like a lot of enlightenment thinkers, where, you know, in the Enlightenment we as humans kind of try and conquer nature. We try to have control over nature, from the like buildings we build, from the roads we pave, from the constructions we create, from the fact that we have trains like cutting through mountains. We're just trying to impose ourselves on nature. The Gothic is looking at that and saying, nature and humanity are like two like sides of the same coin. We are on a level playing field, and you either have to kind of rock with the waves or get swept up by them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so Gothic...
Beautifully said.
No, love that.
Gothic loves and respects nature. And not only that, it shows nature as a force to be reckoned with.
And nature definitely is a force in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, it plays a part. Yeah.
And I think that it's
such
also...
a big part of this film.
It's a third party. In the sense, I don't think it was aligned with Dracula, and I don't think it was aligned with the humans either.
No.
I think that it disadvantaged both of them and advantaged both of them at the same time.
Yes, and we see this from the, like, basically, it's a presence there. And... you can either use it to your advantage, or
which they kind of do later.
Yeah, both parties can use it to their advantage, and it's just existing. Which, you know, you can either go against nature, or you can use it, or you can play alongside it. So
But we're on this ship, and there's the storm happening, and we have two lookouts on each side of the ship.
Because finally they decided to have the buddy system.
He seems to be killing people when they're alone.
Yeah. And they're on each side of the ship, though. They have not caught on that they're actually killing them when they're like alone, so they're still like separate sides of the fucking boat, so they can still easily get killed. And one of them hears knocking, so they go to the other side of the ship.
The knocking from earlier that rattles throughout the entire ship, and he thinks, oh, the other guy must need my help.
Yeah. And then the other guy meets him halfway, and it's like, hey, what did you need?
He's like, oh, what do you mean? You knocked. He's like, no, you knocked. He's like,
You knocked.
No, you knocked.
You knocked.
It was me. It was you.
Shut up.
Bitch. And then Dracula. No.
And Dracula.
And then literally, and then Dracula.
But yeah, again, another point of like Dracula observing people and trying to like mimic them and use.
He was playing games too, but that is him using their
playing mind
technique
games.
as if he was, again, assimilating, which is
So toxic.
I think a great word for it.
Yeah.
But he was playing games though.
He was.
He could have just killed them. But he was like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I have to be toxic right now.
Let me bring them together to kill them at the same time.
Let me be messy.
Double combo.
He wanted to cause drama. He wanted them to argue. Like, no, you knock. No, you knock. He's like,
He lives for drama.
it was Dracula. Oh, sorry.
He was born to be a teenage girl.
He loves the drama. Listen.
He was sitting above them, watching them, and he just suddenly jumps down onto one of the lookouts and starts smashing his face into the deck.
Oh yeah,
over
like
and over
his
and over
face is
again.
flattened, which I think was quite gory. I think it's the goriest thing that happens.
The
Not that
gore is so realistic in this as well.
It is.
it's pretty good. I think it helps that it's such a dark film.
Yeah.
I think it's much easier to get away with it. But his face is just smashed against the floor and it's flat. Like it's horrid.
A lot of organic SFX as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that was necessary.
No, he was just fucking with him. He was just using him as a stress ball.
Yeah. And the other one gets terrified.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he tries to run up the rigging. I climb up the ropes and he looks, which was very stupid because Dracula just came down from this guy. You think he can't get up there?
Do you think he can't jump? He can totally climb, obviously.
And he looks down and sees Dracula climbing up behind him, and he says, "No, please." And we look down at Dracula and we see that Dracula starts mimicking what he had said
No, please.
in a very sort of demonic voice. No, please.
Again, weird mimicry,
Very
weird
unusual.
uncanny mimicry.
But it goes to show again how you were saying, like how he does try to mimic humanity, and we don't get to see much of that because on this boat it's not necessary for him. It's necessary for him where he came from, and it's necessary for him where he's going. But on this ship, he doesn't have to pretend. They
He's just
cannot go
himself.
anywhere. So he just is his beast self.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this film was really fun, because I don't think that Dracula gets a lot of opportunities to just be this side of himself.
Because we're mostly from the perspectives of our characters, and they die really quickly.
Yeah.
There's not enough time for Dracula to like fuck with them. But when he does, it's really unsettling.
Very brutal. It's morning again.
Yeah.
And the crew is walking around looking for them. They find the guy with his face smashed in.
Yeah. And they're
And then
panicking because they're like, oh my God, where's the other guy?
Where's Larson? Where
And
the
it's
fuck is
raining
Larson?
super heavy, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I love this scene. It was so beautiful. I love rain. I love rain at night, but I also love rain during the day.
Yeah.
And it was like bright, but there's like so much water.
Yeah. It was like very grey. Toby's standing under the
Rigging.
and blood just drips down.
Yeah. Which
then-
Toby doesn't notice because he thinks it's just rain because he's already getting soaked.
But Clemens is looking down at him, and he sees the blood drops dropping on his shoulders.
And he looks up.
And even though it's raining so heavy, it almost gets quieter at this point. I think this sound even go away.
Yeah.
Which I thought was so beautiful. Silence and rain. Oh God, eat me up. But then they both slowly start to look up, and Toby gets some splashes of blood on his face, and he starts to look and realize that there's a red color to the rain.
Yeah.
And they both look up, and
Larson is
It's
suspended.
just like staring down at them from above.
hanging from the rope with blood like sort of dripping from his head. and
Dracula
his neck.
did not need to leave him there again. This is just another example of him toying with them. This is a vacation for him.
Yeah.
And so they bring Larson down, and they realize, oh, he's alive.
Yeah.
Which isn't something that hasn't happened before.
No.
Everybody's just been killed. The animals, the other people.
They kind of just assume that whatever's attacked him didn't do a good job.
Yeah.
And then the captain has a meeting, and he's now like, now it's 2 people on the ship, and they have to be armed, and I want the ship searched.
Yeah.
He
And don't go too far from each other.
He sends Olgaron to search the ship.
And I believe there was like one line, I think it was from the captain, where someone says, it might have been Clemens at this point, but someone says, it is real and on board whether we choose to believe it or not. So again, one of those things where fuck reason, screw your rationality, screw what you think you know of the world.
Yeah.
This thing doesn't play by your rules.
And by this point, we are totally in Dracula's domain.
Yeah.
Because they are too far to turn back. The nearest port to them is England.
Yeah.
That's where they have to be.
They're trapped. They have to commit.
This is when the captain locks the boy.
Yes. He says, he gives Toby a task. He says, could you please polish my telescope? And he gives him the telescope and he says, lock the door behind me.
Yeah. He obviously cares about the little boy, and he realizes that shit's about to go down, and he thinks that if he could save anyone, it's the boy. And so he thinks if he locks himself in my, in the
very sturdy
captain quarters,
a safe captain
with
quarters.
the biggest lock, that he will be fine.
Unfortunately, he didn't think of the fact that, the boy is his own biggest enemy, and he can leave
the boy hears kind of weird noises and decides to just leave. He unlocks the big bolt and walks out onto the corridor.
And he's walking, and this is the moment where it's like he's walking through like a very dark corridor, and we see a sort of figure in the like a silhouetted in the distance. And he's scared, but he's like wondering who it is. And the figure slowly starts walking towards him.
And as he can make out the shape, he realizes, as he can make out the shape, he realizes it's Olga.
Yeah, it's Olga, and the guy that's just survived.
Talking to him like, "Oh, Olga, like, are you okay, Olga?" And what I loved is
he's zombified.
He's it's completely dark. You cannot see Olga's face. You know it's him because it's got the silhouette, the height, the hair.
Yeah.
But he leans in closer and closer to the little boy. Still can't see his face.
His demeanor.
Yeah. His demeanor too gives away, but his face is bathed in shadow, and only right when he gets in the boy's face does his face peek out into the light, and it reveals his sort of demented face with white eyes and a sort of an appearance and an attitude to his face that is unlike him, and also very sinister.
He looked like a zombie.
You could say uncanny.
But I love that. Like, you could not make out his face at all until he leaned into the light. I always loved those shots in films, especially it felt very gothic to me.
It was
that monster approaching from the shadows. I think that's so gothic.
It was indeed.
And he grabs the boy, and the boy's like freaking out.
Oh, he grabs him by like the scruff of his neck, and he starts dragging him down the hallway.
Yeah.
And the boy manages to slip out of his like jumper, and he starts crawling. He starts running away, and
back
it's
to the
really
quarters.
tense.
And there was a moment where because he had come in from like a very like tightly like pin door. There was just like a little small gap, and so he had to like try and crawl through the gap. Honestly, it gave me what was that one game, Outlast. It really gave me like Outlast, where the character is like there's this big hulking guy coming after him, and the character has to like move through like these tight spaces that the big guy can't go through. Except he can go through them, because when the little boy just managed to like pop out to the other side, Ogun didn't give a fuck. He just walked through the door.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a weaker door. But even so, it was like toothpicks. It just splintered into nothing. But he's able to run into the captain's quarters, which has a very sturdy door with a huge metal lock. So he gets in there, he shuts the door, and he's sliding the lock, and it's very scary.
He's
you don't think
having
he's
issues
gonna
with
make
this lock.
But he gets it in, and you think, oh, it's okay. And the noises stop outside of the door.
It gets quiet.
The boy's freaking out. He grabs a pocket knife from the table, gets it out like he's gonna do something.
And he says... He begs Olga, and he says, please leave.
It's very much that like,
oh
God, what a haunting experience. It's just like, please leave me alone. Like, please go. Like, it's,
And he's using his name and everything's like, Olga, and please leave.
Yeah, please.
And it's like such, the child actor in this is really quite good.
Yeah, the kid is very competent. Good for him.
Great performance.
Yeah.
And he has a knife with him at this point. He grabs a knife from like one of the on the table, and he's like waiting. He's waiting for something to happen. Nothing happens. So he inches closer and closer to like the door to kind of listen out to what's happening, and then suddenly, boom. Like the door starts like banging.
Yeah.
The door is like Orgren from the other side, and the boy is like gets scared, and so
he runs under the table.
Runs under the table, and then we cut to a shot of what Orgren's doing behind the door,
smashing his face.
Fucking
it's
head.
so brutal.
He does not have to be doing. He's smashing his head,
and his face obviously is getting messed
bloodied.
up.
Yeah.
And then he actually breaks a hole in the door, like his Johnny style, like literal hole in the door. But there is a shot where his face slams in one more time into this hole, and there's this bit of wood that is shoved into his face, and he pushes his face into it slowly as it like splinters and cuts into his face. It was horrid to watch.
It was hardcore.
But the boy is very smart.
Yes.
And he starts banging on the wood with the telescope, with the knife.
He gets on the table where he was previously hiding, and he starts banging on the ceiling because he knows that people are above deck, and he's banging on this beam that's connected to the ceiling, and knocking, and so the crew above hear him.
And it's very different than the usual knocking, which is sort of just like a bam, bam, bam. This was like
bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
And the crew above on the deck hear that, and they're like,
and the captain's like,
that?
Toby.
Yeah, and they start
he remembers
running.
when he left him.
Yeah.
And they start running towards where Toby is, and they manage, and Clement is the first one to get to the door, and he sees Oberyn just like because he had made a hole in the door, he's trying to unlock the door like by reaching for the lock, and Clemens manages to rip him away from it, but then they start getting into a scuffle.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Wuschik comes in as well, and like they start like wrestling him down. And Toby is like still behind.
He's under the table now.
He is under the table.
I think he's got a cross, a rosary.
Yeah, he has a cross, like a rosary, like praying. And Clemens tries to like go to the door, but be the actually only smartest person there, and tries to go and reach into the hole and try and unlock.
And
it.
that's when they see Dracula.
And yes,
through the hole, they see him standing in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't believe. I think the little boy was the first one to see it, because while he was hiding under the table, you see like it takes you a second, because Dracula is like almost the same color as like the dark
gray walls.
Honestly, I didn't see him until the shot of the crew looking at him.
Mm-hmm. And he's there huddled in the corner with our little boy looking at him, and he slowly gets up. And then, gets out of frame, and he just disappears.
Well, the little boy is underneath the table, and he sees Dracula. And as Dracula stands, the boy also stands up to see Dracula, but Dracula's no longer there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's very quick and very scary.
During this whole thing, the crew are screaming. They're like, "Toby, open the door! Yeah. Open the door now!" And the boy is petrified, bless him.
Because obviously they need to get to him so they can keep him safe.
And they see Dracula through the hole now, so they're trying. And Dracula starts crawling on the ceiling. Yeah. And the boy looks up, and then Dracula pounces on him. Yeah. Luckily, Dracula didn't do the 1-2 combo with the bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Instead, he just did the like bite in the neck.
Yeah.
Which I don't... Was it because he realized he didn't need to because it was a child and it wasn't that much blood, so it wasn't worth the effort?
I think he's at this point he's
maybe it was the lack of hope. Maybe he's like, if I injure this kid and just injure him, then they're gonna believe he's gonna live. What if I just jam my teeth into his neck, drink as much as I can, and then completely eviscerate the feelings of this entire crew right now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is also another interesting Gothic motif I want to bring up here, because the rosary, right, the religious symbol, right. Toby, the little kid, was kind of holding on to that,
clutching it,
like believing that it might be able to help him against this demonic, like devilish creature. And this comes up again another time with somebody trying to use the rosary against him. It doesn't fucking work.
No.
And this brings up the motif of Gothicism and religion. When it comes to Gothics and religion obviously tends to play a really big part in the Gothics. And for one reason is because typically why are people religious? Why do we use religion? A lot of the time, well, we could say we've grown up to it, but why? And it's because religion is supposed to be something that gives us comfort. It's supposed to be something that gives us like protection. It's supposed to be something that gives us answers when we don't have them. It's supposed to be something that makes us feel protected and hopeful. Usually the Gothic, and especially the supernaturals, do not care for that. So use this aspect of humanity and ideology where it's supposed to be this like thing that's also supposed to be technically supernatural. I'm sorry, religious people. That's also supposed to be supernatural. So it's supposed to be on their level playing field, but it doesn't work against them. So not only are you stripping like possibly the one bit of protection or
one supernatural power they had.
The one supernatural sense of protection that you could have. Sometimes they even use it against you. Oh, okay. Like for example, think I don't know. Think a bunch of like those like nun movies. Okay, fucking religion never saved them from anything. Yeah. So if anything, religion sometimes religious powers can like play against you, and so that's taking something that's so ingrained in us in our humanity and our culture of humanity, and rendering it super useless. Like it's like spitting in its face, saying that like, no, you have no power here. Whatever you believe, whatever you hope, whatever you think, that does not apply to me.
I think it's made clear too, because the exact shot that they use is as his blood is being drained, his hand sort of collapses and the rosemary falls from his hand, and that it was just showing that God's not going to save you.
God is not on your
You're
side.
alone.
Yeah.
They even mention this several times throughout in the captain's logs as God has abandoned the Demeter.
Yeah,
He's not here.
Yeah, it's absolutely this sense of like
He's gone out.
complete isolation and powerlessness that like even whatever supernatural force you believe in, that doesn't work.
And speaking of forms of in the terms like horror films too, I think that's the moment too where the first sort of big spark is lit. That and this happens in horror films a lot.
Yeah.
God's not with us, and we have to save ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's when they start thinking, how do we stop him? What can we do? Because again, they're alone and they have to fight this thing.
Yeah,
Definitely.
It's really the power of humanity that becomes.
Go humans! I love being human.
Team Human.
Team human. No, I'm not team human.
It's now daytime again, and we see that Oberyn has been tied to the mast of the ship. He can't move. His face is still fucked.
And he's like, and he's no longer aggressive at this point. He's kind of passive right now. He's not
still
himself.
in trance.
Yes.
And I would say it's very early. Like the sun is just about coming up.
Yeah. We're coming
Barely.
towards dawn.
Yeah.
And they ask, say, can you hear us, Oberyn? And he says, yes, I can hear you. I can hear the sea, and I can hear the wind, and I can hear the blood pulsing through your veins. And he says, what do you feel? And he says, it burns. He says, what?
And we're confused.
And he keeps repeating, it burns, it burns.
And he thinks, oh, get him some water. Maybe he needs water. Maybe he's dry. Maybe he's hot.
And then the sun rises over the sea, and Oberyn burns alive.
Classic like vampire in a sunburn.
He's like a flame, like it's a really big one as well, and everyone's so shook. They're like, what the fuck?
But it's quite beautiful though at the same time.
I know. It's a great effect. But yeah, he burns alive, and basically everyone's like freaking confused what that was.
Yeah.
And so and is this the point where they start thinking about like, okay, fine, like should we go look downstairs at what's going on with all the with the new the cargo that has come in, because obviously this thing has come from the cargo.
Well, they're having this big discussion as to what to do. Some people are like, is there any way we can turn back? They can't turn back. The captain is like, telling people what to do. The religious person is like, it's a test from God, or it's a punishment from God. Sorry. People are still in denial about it, and we realize that Toby is still alive.
Yeah.
We get a cut to shot of him sleeping, and you see that he is just barely alive. He's very grey.
And they're discussing, and they because of what happened to Oberon, they are looking at Toby now, and they're discussing, is he also, infected? And they're like, wondering what do we do with him? And obviously suggesting that should we kill him at this point?
Yeah.
They decide not to.
Yeah.
At this point, so
the cook knocks out this fella.
The like the sub captain, right?
No, he knocks out the Irish fella.
It was Irish. He had the beard.
Yeah, no, I know. I thought he was the sub captain.
No, the sub captain was Wyszczek.
Wyszczek has a mustache.
The Hispanic
Irish
one.
guy has a beard.
Oh, it's just because the Irish guy was driving, so for some reason I thought, okay, cut this out. Go back. Go on.
So it's nighttime. And we see two crew members, the cook and this Irish guy. And the Irish guy is lighting a cigarette. He's like steering the boat. The cook is behind him, and he knocks him out. And he says, God has saved me. And he takes a lifeboat, and he's paddling away.
In all fairness, pretty fair shot. I don't blame him.
Honestly, that would be the first thing I'd done. The only thing I think he did wrong was going at night.
Yeah.
He had all day, but he goes at night.
They do a lot of important stuff at night.
Oh my god! And the thing is, at first I can justify it because they don't know this is Dracula.
But now they do.
Yeah, but
eventually, I mean, I don't think the cook understood it fully.
No,
probably.
But I will say, after this, they definitely know.
Yeah.
And yet they continue to make plans during the day and wait till nighttime.
It's so stupid. And then it gets worse because Clemens and Anna are going into the hold to look at all the coffins, or the crates, full of dirt.
During the night.
And they're digging through them.
Yeah, and most of the crates just have dirt in them.
Just
dirt.
But they don't look hard enough. Because let's not forget that the woman who was
submerged.
She was submerged.
She was buried. Yeah.
One of the boxes, he sticks a pin into it, like into the end of it, and he says, "Oh, nothing in here." There could be something in there.
Yeah, just like dig around.
Yeah,
One of the other ones, he just scoops a little dirt and goes this huge crate.
Yeah.
And he scoops a little dirt and says, "Oh, just dirt again."
Yeah.
Dig around a little bit.
There could be something in there.
You don't too.
But to be fair, all these crates were nailed shut.
Yeah.
But then they finally find a crate that has different sides to it. And the woman, because of maybe her connection with Dracula, because we have found out at this point that she is some sort of drone or servant to him.
She
Yeah.
has some link to him.
Yeah, he's used his Dracula powers on her, and she's definitely
She has a link. And
affected.
she discovers a mechanism, because this one isn't nailed shut. And we theorized that this is the one that Dracula was traveling in so that he could easily go in and out
Yeah.
without having to unnail himself.
the other ones weren't meant to be opened. This one
Yeah.
clearly was.
Yeah, this is some
Yeah.
sort of like puzzle type of contraption.
It was really cool. But inside it, we see a cane with a dragon head on it.
It's pretty cool.
I think it was a wolf head.
I just don't see, because he doesn't have any other motifs of wolves in this.
But
in the books,
it
he
looked
does.
like a wolf.
In the book,
to
he
me,
does,
it-
but
to-
not in.
To me, it looked like one of those. How can I say? One of those like Chinese dragons when they
okay.
like like when they dance.
I guess
with
I
them.
could see that, but why would this like European monster have
we
that?
might be well-traveled.
Dragons are European.
No, but you described it like the East Asian, right?
Yeah,
Well,
but there
so
was the
what?
Silk Road during the 1800s.
This is his one autistic
Okay,
interest.
I just googled it. Dracula's cane, and it literally came up. The Last Voyage of Demeter, Dracula's wolf cane.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
That's fair,
fair
enough.
enough.
But it's just odd that it's a wolf, considering that wolves are never mentioned in this film.
But I think the point is that this is a story from the Dracula novel.
Yeah.
This is that Dracula. Things might be tiny bit different, but that is what it is inspired by.
Okay,
and he
I-
has a wolf cane in
I
that.
just thought
That's fair,
I
but-
just thought his autistic interest was dragons. Okay, so he had a bunch of like different types. All right, fair enough. Fair enough if it's a wolf.
I just found it like if you haven't read the books and you wouldn't know he was linked to wolves. So it's like, why would it be a wolf, you know?
I mean, I didn't know that until you said, "Oh, he can summon wolves."
Yeah,
I
in
didn't
the
know that
books,
either.
In the
Neither
book,
did I.
he controls the wolves around the castle.
I said, I didn't know that, but it just obviously looked like a wolf to me.
That's fair
Okay, fair enough.
enough.
Right.
1 second, I can't fucking read.
Oh, and this where?
But by the way, so they find the cane,
Oh, and there's maggots in it.
Yeah,
maggots in it, but it's empty. Besides the cane and the maggots, there's nothing else in there. Obviously, because Dracula is currently hunting down
The cook.
in the boat. So the cook thinks he's got away, he thinks he's so slick, and he's suddenly surrounded by fog. And
Out of
out from
nowhere.
this fog and the mist, while he's on the boat, he starts to hear noise. He gets scared. He realizes that this demon's after him. And he also hears
Yeah,
Dracula talking to him.
yeah. He's
And what-
repeating the prayer back to him.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
repeating the prayers that the cook kept saying. 'Cause remember, the cook is religious.
very religious. Yes.
And again, this is him mimicking humanity.
Yeah.
It's very scary because, ominous voice, don't know where it's coming from. Something's definitely very fast and out there. And that's...
And we thought at this point that like the cook getting away, he would probably be safe because at this point we're thinking Dracula can't swim, right?
Yeah.
Like he would,
We
like
were thinking swimming.
yeah, he can't swim, right?
At
So-
this point, we've not seen him fly.
yeah, no.
Wait, did he swim all the way out there? How petty we thought.
He had like a whole boat of people to choose from. He went after the one straggler.
Yeah, and
who
we
was just-
find out, by the way, because he's obviously feeding off of them. Mm-hmm. When they did the mass, he had more than enough people. Mm-hmm. In fact, by the last day, he still had like 3-4 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had more than enough. So he could have let that guy go. But he said no.
He was rationing them so that on the last day he could have a little feast.
Like when you like leave the best bit of like a sandwich.
Yeah.
You gotta make that best bite.
Okay.
I guess he was into dark meat.
Or you leave like the best thing on the plate for last because you don't want to end with something that you don't like that much.
Yeah.
Or I relate. Actually, I'm kind of getting it now.
Really?
Okay.
You relate to Dracula?
I see
But
what
then
he's
there's
saying.
this silhouette of him like on the boat with his wings kind of spread in this
Yeah.
like on the little
It's very bat-like, obviously.
Yeah.
and it didn't remind us all of Jeepers Creepers
It
when he's like
did.
in that bit?
Yes.
It did a little bit, especially because he looks a little bit like
It was
Yeah,
the
he
grey,
does look like the
fleshy.
creeper.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so obviously,
Just a different base.
Oh yeah.
and so obviously at this point, the chef is like praying to himself, but that never worked. So
Nah.
he gets killed, and the crew on the boat hear like the sounds, and they go out to see like what's going on. And you see, and Dracula did not have to do this, but you
remember,
see-
he's petty.
He's very petty.
So fucking
he is
petty.
he loves playing with his food. Okay, so and we see in the distance the lantern of like the boat coming towards them. So Dracula basically pushed the boat
In
back
the opposite direction it came.
in the opposite direction because it was leaving. So he pushed the boat back to them, being like, and the bloody boat as well, being like, here, bitch.
Here's your
Like, oh,
cook.
see what happens when you try to leave?
Yeah, just try to escape again. I dare you.
It's like you stay, you die. You leave, you die. What's the point? Fucking
It was horrid.
typical.
It was
I mean, it was
a threat.
good because it meant that they got the lifeboat back,
Yeah.
which I guess is a good thing.
Yeah.
But it also meant like, oh, we can't use it because Dracula comes. Although, maybe someone could try during the day. Maybe someone could try during the day.
Honestly.
Because again, like I think I said this earlier, you'd have like 12 hours. If you started in the morning with sunrise, you'd have like 12 hours. So it's the next day after, the cook gets killed in the boat.
Yeah.
I just want to say it's morning now. And they have some such stuff to address, sure. But can I just say, they didn't think when the sun rose again to go and check the crate again. Because the original reason they went down there is to hopefully find him in a crate and kill him. They literally had a shotgun, like, or a rifle, whatever it was,
Right.
pointed at the crate as he opened it, hoping they could shoot him. He wasn't in there because he obviously comes out at night. They know this now because they find out that the chef was being killed while they were looking at the crate. They also know which crate he sleeps in. So it's now morning. The sun is up. Why haven't they, first things first, gone down into the fucking below deck again, gone back straight to that crate, open it and shot him?
Maybe they didn't clock that he was sleeping in that thing.
His cane was in there.
Like, so what? That could mean anything.
But the reason they were looking at the crates too is because they figured he was. And she didn't know, the woman who was his like slave, his sort of like the thing he fed off of. She didn't know much about how to kill him, how to stop him, whatever. But she knew a lot about him.
Yeah.
And she had a connection to him. The reason they were looking at the crates is because she knew like how he slept and that he would be in those crates.
Yeah.
It really gets
There's no reason they shouldn't have pointed that together.
It really gets to me that there's generations of this village who've lived with Dracula above them, offering their like people to him, and then they just don't do any research into how to kill him. They
And the
don't-
pretty ones too.
and it's like fair enough if you've looked and you couldn't find anything, or you get murdered when you look, and that's fine.
Or
but
you tried, or you tried and
Yeah.
you failed.
it's been generations. You have nothing.
You have weapons now. Okay, evolve.
You have muskets.
I'm surprised they haven't moved. Again, when
I
the
would
sun
fucking
rose,
move.
started going and not stopped.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, pack your shit up and do a voyage.
I guess it just got so normal there.
Yeah, it's just become a part of, like, life.
But anyway, they got other stuff to do this morning because, sadly,
Toby's passed. He's gone.
But why did he pass? It's kind of implied. It's kind of implied that because Wushak was looking at him. And so it
was implied that he just kind of died because he just didn't have enough blood.
I thought it was implied that he killed him.
That's what I got.
Okay.
That Wishcheck killed him.
It could
The
have
co-captain.
been. It could have been that he died. Either way,
But
Toby died.
Toby's dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Toby died.
And they do this funeral. They wrapped him up.
The one bit of kind of dignity they give to one of their dead crewmates,
Yeah.
it goes to Toby. They actually give
Because
him
he's obviously a sweet little child.
yeah, he's
And
innocent in all this.
The woman says a prayer.
The captain can't bring himself to do it. He can't say anything.
Yeah.
And it's haunting but sweet.
Yeah,
She does. She's a very sweet. Like I think it's a nice prayer.
she has a very
Oh,
she has a way of with words.
Yeah.
Um,
And then the captain's like, I saw him move. And everyone's like, let him go.
Yeah, they're
but
like
before that, can I just say, like, this whole funeral, like, I love because it like you said, it was the one, like, afforded, like, respect or whatever. But it was genuinely, like, in the midst of, like, such horridness and this repetition of every night just being this demonic, like, murder fest.
There's like a
And
Cluedo.
this one sweet moment where they were honoring this child, saying sweet things like, may he rest, may he not have to
Yeah.
experience all of this. And also it was ominous because we knew that once they sent him off, that they were going to now have to deal with hell. Let him be free, let him be fine. And we know that they're still in the thick of it. For them to take this break and compartmentalize was just crazy.
It was
Yeah.
nice.
But the captain,
He says, he's not dead. I saw him move.
Because they were about to like throw him overboard, and he looks and he's like, "Stop!"
and we think he's crazy because we obviously think that he's
Yeah.
grief-stricken
Yeah.
and just in denial.
Everyone else is like, look, let him go.
Yeah, but he's
It's time.
insisting. He's insisting. Like, no, I saw him move.
Yeah. And he tears open the top, and he looks at Toby's face, and we all were like, oh,
Yeah.
he's gonna open his eyes.
We've seen this shot.
Yeah. And then he opened his eyes, and he grabbed onto the captain, but then the sunlight hits Toby's hands, and he catches fire, and the captain's on fire, and everyone's like, what the fuck? And they throw Toby overboard, and they separate him from the captain, obviously.
Yeah.
And captain is badly burned, and now Toby's
yeah.
dead body's in the ocean.
It-
Fuck
it-
dignity, I guess.
Honestly, no. It was quite a haunting kind of scene. The way his like the kid's charred corpse is just like kind of sinking to the depths. I
Yeah.
think that was quite. It was quite an interesting, beautiful shot.
Yeah.
Personally. And the captain is just kind of like burnt up a little bit over there. So he's traumatized.
I mean,
he just got to witness his grandson possible grandson, theoretical grandson, die twice, essentially.
Yeah. And the captain's kind of like badly burned. He's lying in bed, and then the rest of the crew are discussing what to do next. Like, how do they continue on from him? And Wojciech is his name?
Yeah.
He's not being very cooperative, and he's like, why are you doing this? And Clemens basically airs out every frustration he has. He said he was the first black person to graduate in medicine from Cambridge, or one of the first, and he couldn't get a job anywhere. And when he finally did get a job offer, when they saw the colour of his skin, they rejected him again. Yeah. And now he has to deal with all of this, and he's trying to keep people safe, and it's just not working. And he's like, it's quite emotional because he's like really telling you everything. He's bearing his soul to Wojciech just in the hopes that Wojciech will have some empathy and help him.
It's when his philosophy comes up again about him wanting to understand.
Yeah, I need to understand.
And I actually wrote down the quotes, a few lines here. He said, I need this world to make sense. And like the beast, the world has absolutely no hold on me. So again, very gothic theme around, a human trying to deny the powers that may be.
Yeah.
And this is also when they piece together and realize that Dracula's been eating them one at a time because he's been rationing them.
Yeah.
That's when they come to that realization. And they also realize that there's only one day left.
Yeah, they're on their last
day. And so everybody's going to die tonight.
Yeah.
There's no need for Dracula to, one, keep them alive, or two, ration them, okay? He's just going to have a feast.
Yeah. And so they realize that we've got one last chance to do anything about it. And the sun is still up at this point. Let me tell you. No one thinks, let's jump in that boat and let's go.
I would. I'll be gone.
It's either no, honestly, what they should have done is turn the boat around, and left it there. I don't know if Dracula can drive a boat or whatever, but turn the boat around, left it there while the sun was still up. Get on their mini boats and just drift off. Again, they're only 1 day away from England. Okay, and on a little boat, okay, that might be 2 days. You can survive 2 days, right?
Yeah.
Survive more than you can Dracula. And the thing is too, is that the idea that they do come up with is technically smart.
Yeah.
They decided they're going to sink the ship with Dracula in it and drown him.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair enough.
But instead of just doing it immediately and thinking, oh, let's just poke a hole in the ship while it's still morning, get in the lifeboat together and go and let it sink. They think, no.
We have to make this convoluted ass plan.
Let's do a small hole, not all the way yet.
Yeah.
And we'll finish it at night when he's awake.
Yeah. We'll put Anna on the deck to lure him out, and then someone will go down and do it. And I'm like, why not just do it now?
Also, if your whole point is to try and bait him into getting her so you can hurt him, what is the point of trying to sink the ship at that point? Obviously, you're just trying to kill him at that point.
Also, he has wings. If they're luring him onto the deck and then they sink the ship, he's just going to fly away.
I mean, did they know he had wings at that point? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know.
Okay. No, to be fair, I don't think they knew he could fly at this point.
So we'll be fair about that, but they still knew that the sun most likely burns him, but they also know that he doesn't come out during the day.
Yeah.
So they should have just put a hole in the boat and gone immediately.
Make the connection.
But they waited for him to wake up. They don't realize that they're going to have to... Why would they think to fight him?
They have the bad habit of doing the most important things at night.
Yeah.
It's really, really frustrating.
The worst part about this final feat, too, is they actually spend all day preparing for it, and they even have to wait around a bit for the sun to set, for him to come out. What do you mean? What do you mean?
And the thing is, I just want to know, what did they do during the day? What have they done during the day and for those whole days where people have been getting killed at night? A lot of shit has been happening at night. They know that now the daytime might possibly be able to hurt this creature, considering it doesn't come out at daytime. And what did they do?
The other people who have been affected by
fucking fly around.
The other people affected by the disease of this Dracula also burned up in the sun.
Yeah.
But then the thing is that they were looking at that's when we all had this thing was what about the woman then? Because she's been bitten by him loads of times.
That was confused because she has been bitten a lot of times. So you would assume the same as what he did to the others. If you're bitten but you're not dead, you're infected.
But she's fine.
But she's not burning up in the sun.
She even helps out. Everyone comes together. Everyone who's left, which I think is just her, our astrologist Clemens, the captain.
Jack. And the captain.
Wojciech, and wasn't that for a moment?
The captain and the Irish one.
Yeah,
and
for a moment. The Irish one is okay. Obviously, they're trying.
He's a bit irrelevant. If you've ever seen Pitch Perfect, you know that there's two members that just always get ignored.
They get
like
one
they don't
joke
exist
per movie,
and the joke is always
that's
irrelevant.
We're still here.
It's like, do you know our names?
That's who he is.
But yeah. Okay, so basically, their plan is, okay, use the girl to lure him in because she has a special connection. And even she says, like, I have a link to him. And it's like, wow, you must feel so special.
Yeah, she was like, trust me, he's obsessed with me. He'll come. He's like in love with me.
He knows me.
He's obsessed with me.
I feel him and he feels me. And guess what? He doesn't go for her first.
He does.
Because he don't give a damn.
Because
she's only seeing him, but he's seeing multiple bitches.
Because he knows what they're up to. He sees the fuckers that are up on them.
It was given, oh, I'm your best friend.
But then that's the thing, is if she knows that she's linked to Dracula, why would she allow herself to be, like, involved in the planning of this mission? She should be in a different fucking room so they can plan it and they can just tell her what to do on the day. Because it's like, you don't know how much he knows from her mind. You don't know how much, she doesn't know how much he sees and hears of her memories or her mind or what she's seeing and hearing.
We don't know how linked she is to Dracula.
And I don't think she even knows. So why the fuck is she even putting the rest of the crew in danger by being in the room while the planning's happening?
I think because her assumption was that he comes straight for her. So I think she thought if she was in a separate room, he would just go finish her and then they would all be left.
Well, it was the daytime, so he could be on the deck.
So, like, plan it during the day, leave her out of the plan, and when it came to, like, the nighttime, just tell her where to stand.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to be fair, she didn't reveal their connection until it was already night and they were waiting for him.
It does.
That's when she went, we're linked. I feel him. He feels me.
Way to make you trust us less, bitch.
Yeah. And in fact, I will say, right before they do come out here, they go under deck and they go speak to the captain, don't they?
Yeah.
And the captain's losing his shit.
Yeah.
He's like,
so upset.
Obviously, he's grief-stricken and he's like reading this. He's reading his diary, writing his final words, and he's saying, I can hear him. You know, he speaks to me, speaking about Dracula. He speaks to me. He says that he can bring back, he took Toby away, he can bring him back.
He can bring him back if I deliver the boat.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's losing. We
and
don't
that's
know.
when, is it Clarence? Clemens,
he says.
Clemens. Now, we don't know at this point whether it's he himself is, like, losing his mind or if it is Dracula just kind of telepathically, whatever supernatural powers he's using to whisper in his ear. Either way, we know he's getting fucked with in the head.
Yeah.
And so Clemens comes in and is like, we're thinking of sinking the boat. And the captain looks at him and is like, no, you can't do that.
and he pulls out a gun.
Yeah.
He pulls out a Glock and says,
pulls out a Glicky.
And he points at Clemens, and that's when the woman walks in and she speaks to him and she says, I've heard him too. I've experienced him, and I know that you know that he cannot bring him back.
Yeah.
That he lies, that he's not to be trusted.
She gives him Toby's rosary and it's like, would the boy want you to do that?
Yeah, think of Toby.
She makes a very, an actually very nice speech. Okay, we're paraphrasing it a lot, but she does give some, like, very hard.
While she has a gun pointed in her face, and I would say she didn't flinch.
She is.
And to be fair, she's been living for years.
Ready. She was ready for it.
Because she was living with Dracula for years.
Yeah.
She's been tortured, like bitten, like harmed for years, probably.
Who knows?
We don't know how long she's been there.
It's just because her body was covered in wounds, and it seems like he feeds like once a day ish.
Yeah,
probably.
So she was covered in so many.
Yeah. So eventually, because of her words of wisdom, she manages to calm him down, to calm down the captain, and he's like, okay, I'll go with the plan. And in fact, I will be the one steering the ship.
I will sink the ship. And he basically wants to go down with the ship because where else would I go? Yeah. Which is really funny because earlier he mentions his daughter.
Yeah, he has
a daughter. I'm thinking, why don't you just go home to her?
But I would say my theory is if that is his grandson, then maybe that's her son, and maybe he does think like, I cannot go home to my daughter and say that her son is dead.
Well, yeah, like how do I return to that?
I don't know.
Anything could be true. But that's when the captain decides to help them. So then we get to the plan. She says, I have a connection to him. They're all waiting for Dracula to appear, but he doesn't go for her.
And before that, okay, as they're waiting, out of fucking nowhere, mist, like an entire like mist appears on the boat.
So unnatural.
And it's so it's clearly unnatural mist, and obviously it is Dracula because Dracula has misty powers. They're different in every iteration, but in this iteration he usually like turns into the mist, right? But
he's in some way correlated to mist.
And it's very unnatural because it's hugging the ship. It's wrapping itself around the ridges.
It's drowning
and the walls,
the ship,
and it's surrounding them in it. And this was very cool because this is like the boss fight moment. And so the arena is being set. And so we're like, they made their move. They did all their preparations during the day. Now he's doing his first move. And he changes the terrain. You know, it's like a Pokemon, you know? And so they're covered in mist. Now we think, okay, this fight's about to go down in mist.
Because it's very difficult for them to see each other at this point, and it's kind of unnerving. Now, they're waiting around. And, you know, the two guys, Wishcheck, the basically co-captain, and the Irish guy are up on the deck, waiting, like, watching down on them. Clemens is like...
They're in the crow's nest, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're up in the like masts and stuff.
Yeah.
And the girl is on deck, and Clemens is like behind her, hiding behind a wall, and they're waiting. And the girl is the first one to kind of clock. Oh no, he's realized.
Yeah.
He's realized what they're trying to do.
He completely fucking ignores the plan.
No.
Dracula ignores the bait. And he just goes for the Irish guy straight away.
Straight away. So he dies real quickly, okay? It's actually kind of brutal what happens to him because he's tied to a rope on the mast so that he doesn't fall. But obviously Dracula uses that against him, pulls on the rope, and Wishek is trying to save him, but he can't, obviously, because Dracula is strong. He pulls him, and in midair strikes him.
Yeah, so that as he's swinging, he gets striked halfway through, and when he splats up against the sails, there's almost like a blood shape, like angel shape.
It's like a
left
T
on there.
just like dragging down.
Fucking mad.
It was genuinely like a frog against a window.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah. So quickly, Irish guy dies, and at that point, he's also now going for like Wishek, and
he throws him through this like lattice of like the doors that open up into the hold, and he throws
basically
him
the
through
same
there.
place where earlier the racers found the hole that was smashed from below to up.
But this time they nailed it shut, and to only give him one opening to get out.
Yeah.
And they throw Wishek down there, and he lands on his back, but his leg is broken and his shin bone is sticking out.
It's honestly, it's actually impressive considering like it was a high fall, and for that to be the only injury on you, God bless.
He's lucky. Well, I think when he first hit the wood, that kind of broke his fall.
That's still tough wood, okay? But yeah.
Ugh.
He gets up and
To be
runs
fair,
at some
what
point.
couldn't we see?
Yeah,
Because
honestly.
he probably fractured his spine.
You know what? Maybe he was.
Because he was like messed up after that.
He was probably pumping adrenaline through him. Okay, so he couldn't even tell some of the stuff. But anyway, so he realized. So he's below deck now, with like a bunch of like crates, and Dracula comes in to try and like finish the business off. And so it's basically a game of hide and seek at this point, where Dracula is looking for him, and Wishek is like just trying to get around. I don't remember what the guy, what Clemens and the girl were doing at this point.
I don't think it cuts to them just yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say one thing that's cool too is when Wishek does fall through the hole. I love the shot of the rain pouring into the ship.
Yeah,
it's just sort of like nature coming into the ship now, and it's all just becoming one. We've got them surrounded by Dracula's fog. Nature is now on the ship. The humans are in the ship. It just becomes this one like chewed up mess.
Yeah, look at you. Yeah.
But Wishek's on a mission. He's not letting this fucking vampire stop him from sinking the ship. He has an axe in his hand, and he goes to where they decided the hole was going to be, and he starts smacking it down.
Yeah.
And
they had already weakened the wood earlier.
Yeah. And I think Dracula's kind of panicked at this point because he starts coming faster. He's not doing that stupid slinky, like sneaky shit anymore. He's not, like trying to come for him.
Yeah, he's not trying to play with his food anymore. He hears the like sound of like the banging of the wood, and he's like, oh fuck.
It's very much given like the buses come in and you're actually nonchalant, and then you start to realize, oh wait, maybe I won't make it, and you start fast walking like shit. That's a perfect description.
No, I still need to look cool, but like
I look unbothered, but like the sweat coming down your forehead. You're like panting.
But luckily he's able to break that final hole. Water starts pouring in, but he
it's
does
like
get
very
killed.
little though. It's such a pathetic little hole.
It will do damage.
It's a ship. Without a cannon, how is he going to make a hole that big through such thick wood?
I understand that, but like, whatever.
That's the
what
best
was the
a
plan
human
here?
can do to a huge ship with very thick layers of wood.
Sure, but what was the plan here? What was
Sink the ship.
This way they should have done it in the morning. Gave it time to sink, and also, I want to say they didn't turn the ship around. I think they did, but the storm sort of rages at this point, and it does show that the steering wheel is spinning like crazy.
Oh yeah.
The ship is going in crazy direction. So I do think that the storm has taken control of the ship to some extent and has sort of redirected it towards England. And I think that's why they end up going in that direction anyway. So I don't think it's their fault.
Because the captain does come out eventually after this.
Because he realizes what's happening.
Yeah.
And so he tries to stop it, and he stops the steering wheel, and he tries to put it in the direction they want it in. But then
Captain is attacked,
he's trying to, stop the steering wheel. Dracula appears and does
And he tries to do the same little rosary thing where it's like
he holds it up and he's like, oh, banish you, oh God, oh prayer.
Dracula don't give a fuck, man.
Shit.
He just attacked him, and
He's
then
like, stop forcing your religion onto me.
that's when we cut to Clemens, and he discovers
the captain.
the captain,
The
who
captain
not
is
only
strung up again.
appears dead right at the moment, but he is strung almost crucified.
On
Or
the
it's quite
steering
poetic.
wheel.
He's crucified
Yeah,
on the steering
yeah.
wheel. The captain crucified to his own steering wheel. It's quite poetic. But you think, what has happened? Dracula's tied him up. It was very weird. It was very unusual.
Yeah.
But he does go and he unties him and he realizes there's still some life left in him. And the captain sort of gurgles his last words and he says, what is this?
He says, "Tell them that I stayed true to my trust."
Yes.
Yeah.
And he says he will. And then he dies.
Yeah. And then Clemens does a speech about how unafraid he is.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, basically he challenges him, saying...
And I will say, we're getting towards the end now. And it was very morbid for me because obviously the film started with the scene that was
Yes.
reading the book and it was like, oh, if you read this, it's too late. So we're already thinking they've lost. And
They've
we're
all
now
left.
down to the last two people.
Yeah.
what's going to happen to them, at least. And so...
But I'm just saying there's no hope. I have no hope at this point.
Yeah.
And so the captain dies. Clemens is looking towards like the openness, like assured that like Dracula is listening to him, saying, "I do not fear you. You are afraid of what lies on the other side, as all of us do." Basically, trying to kind of level us that you might be you, we might be us, but we are all the same.
We're all
we are
afraid of
all in
death.
one. Okay, we're all afraid of death because you're also afraid. We
Yeah.
might be afraid, but you're also afraid by
You
something.
still eat, we eat. You sleep, we sleep. But you sleep in dirt.
And Dracula
You're a
obviously
maggot.
appears and challenges him.
Yeah.
Very gothic, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's when, while he's distracted in this competition, the woman shoots Dracula in the back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like in the shoulder, and that does get him. That does
Yeah.
like that doesn't do 0 damage. That does
No, that
get
does-
him.
That is
Yeah.
like a 10 damage.
Yeah,
And
which
she shoots him again and he turns around to her and there's a big kerfuffle between them.
yeah,
Yeah.
he basically like almost cocoons her in his like in his wings and is like trying to like wrestle her. And Clemens is like coming in like with an axe now. And axes him in the back, and now Dracula turns his attention back to him.
And he picks up Clemens by the throat. And Clemens is like, "I am not afraid of you." And Dracula says, "You will be," which is so fucking metal.
And then he takes his nail
Yeah,
and
he
cuts.
drags.
Oh, I love how we're doing the action.
Yeah.
He
And he
drags
drags
his
it.
nail and does the tiniest little scratch,
Yeah.
but just enough to make it
It
start bleeding.
does bleed, yes.
I think it's deep, but it's thin.
I think
Yeah.
it's just done for intimidation
yeah,
purposes.
it's
Well, it looks like he's about to drink from it.
Oh, okay.
yeah, he does. Like it does enough to
He's being
scar.
fancy with it.
Oh.
He's so
He's like, I've been a barbarian. Let's go
no,
sip.
because why was he so delicate about it? Like very mindful and
He's
demure.
He's like, I've been a little beastly, but you're my favorite.
No, literally.
I'm gonna take my time with this one.
So he does enough to like make it bleed and leave a scar, but not enough to kill him. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and he's basically like taunting him at this point. Now the girl at this at which point is kind of like looking for a way to like get him. She sees the masts like above them and gets an idea.
Yeah.
So while he's
She sees the sails, like the wooden beam that the
Yes.
sails are attached to.
So while this Dracula's distracted playing with his food with Clemens, and is about to like getting ready to bite
Suck
him
from the little slit.
Suck from the
Ew,
slit.
suck from the slit.
That's what he was gonna do. She unties the giant beam.
She cuts the.
Cuts it.
And because of the storm, it sort of pushes it like over almost immediately.
Yeah.
Because it's all rickety and weak, and it swings downwards. And luckily, how does he escape Dracula's grip?
Dracula gets distracted by what she does and basically like lets him
drops
go.
him.
He drops him, which
Yeah.
luckily for him. And while he's like looking what's happening like around him in the environment, Clemens has enough time to like get away. And as he does that, the mass like swings down and basically pinches Dracula.
He pins him against
Pins
the
him,
deck.
yeah.
And he can't fucking move for at least
This
a good few
giant
minutes.
beam, and it was like rib crushingly hard.
Yeah.
Like that,
Oh, yeah.
the shot of that beam swinging downwards and crushing him between the other beam.
Like that
So
was a vice.
intense.
That was a
Yeah.
vice grip.
And he looked like he was in a lot of pain. He like,
Yeah, he got.
screeched.
He
did.
screeched. That got him.
And now that they evacuate the ship,
Which
the
is now sinking because of the
The
water coming
lifeboat
in.
is now long fucking gone at this point.
Yeah.
They're on some debris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're on debris. They're on two pieces. One of them has like a little mast almost, and the other bit is just like a log. And they're floating away. And they're floating away from the Demeter, and the sun begins to rise.
Mm-hmm.
But they're having this conversation, and Anna looks over at Clemens, and
Yeah.
her eyes are white.
Here are milky white in the same way the infected were.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And then she said, I've been thinking about this, that must be infected too. And Clemens realizes that the blood transfusions that he's been giving her
Have been
had delaying it because it was
Yeah.
almost adding some human blood to her.
Yeah. It's basically been neutralizing what
So she wasn't burning up in the sun.
Yeah, and he tells her like, no, let's. They don't have the equipment to transfuse that point, but like, save yourself.
Yeah.
We can like sort this out. And she's like, no, like nothing we can do. I am what I am. I'd rather go out on my own terms. And what does
And
she
then
do?
she takes the debris she's sitting on.
They got two different debris. Let me clarify. They got two different debris.
One you can sit on, and it has a little mast.
Yeah, it's a good space. Like you could probably sit on that and paddle.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And the other one is just like a beam in the water. One of those like logs you can't even sit on because you're tipped left or right.
Yeah.
And she thinks, let me take the nice, comfy one that could probably get you to safety. Because he can't even sit on his beam. He's on the beam, hanging off of it, freezing in the water. Proper like Jack, Titanic vibes.
Yeah. What is with women taking the good spaces?
Fucking sexist.
She should have taken the beam. She was going off to die.
Because she was dying.
But I will say, because she took the nice one she could sit on, we got a very beautiful shot of
yeah.
her
Burning to death on
going
the
off into the
water.
distance, and this flame just suddenly erupting. And
I will say, because the beam was like erect, don't make jokes, but because the beam was like standing a little bit tall, it almost looks like she was getting crucified. You know,
like
she was
burned at
burning
the
on the
stake.
stake.
I thought of like a pyre of witch, you know, when the witch is
Yeah.
burned alive.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it did for like nice symbolism. It's just narratively, technically, it's like that was a dick move.
So we forgot to mention that while this whole kerfuffle was happening, in the nighttime, Dracula manages to get free of the beam, and the shipwreck is actually being spotted by the lighthouse
And
nearby in Whitby.
Yeah, and we kind of get brought back to like the very beginning. We kind of circle around
where
to
the
like
ship
the very
is crashing
beginning.
into the rocks
Yeah.
and the cliffs.
And then that's when we basically see the beginning scene again, where everyone's running down. They find the log, but this time we get to cut to see Dracula on the rocks, basically like looking at everything, and you've realized he's made it to his destination.
Yeah.
He's won.
Yeah.
But then you think,
But at least Clemens is alive.
yeah, Clemens is alive, and you're like, oh, we'll just never figure out what happens to him. No, we actually do find out what happens to him.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we get an after scene.
Clemens is in like a town looking for Carfax, which is where the cargo was labeled for.
Yeah.
Which is,
he has guessed very smartly is where Dracula's going to be.
yeah, and he's like, I'm gonna hunt him down. I'm gonna get him.
Basically,
Yeah,
Van Helsing.
He's looking for leads now.
Yeah, but he also hears the knocking when he's in this pub, and he looks over and he sees Dracula, but then he like walks into this alleyway and he's gone, and you realize he's been hallucinating, or maybe he's also got now a connection to Dracula because of that scratch that he got in the
because
thing.
when he sees Dracula and he goes to approach him in the bar, he disappears.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Dracula walks behind him and brushes his finger across the cut on his neck, symbolizing that there's now some sort of tether between them. And it ends with Clemens in the alleyway, looking in the distance where Dracula is walking away into the distance, and he essentially establishes that he's going to hunt him down, and he won't stop until he's finished him.
It sets it up for a pretty fun sequel.
Yeah.
It does.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
That would be fun. I like Clemens. He's very nice. He's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great character.
The direction in this film's really good, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's the story.
That's the end.
What were your final thoughts?
Oof.
Guests can go first.
Oh, me. When did you establish this rule? Okay.
Just now.
Today.
Yeah, I can see. I really enjoyed this, and it was definitely like a different kind of like horror than what we're used to doing, where it was more I don't want to say actiony, but it was more like thrillery. It was more like a chaotic. It relied on more of a, like the classic type of like a horror tropes and stuff. And I think and first of all, I also want to say that it was such a kind of a clever build up, like setup to create an entire story and an entire premise based on just a snippet of an implication within like the original story of Dracula. I thought that was like pretty cool, and it gives like kind of room to expand on the lore as well. So I appreciate it on that aspect. When it came to like the gothic aspects of it, yeah, I could totally recognize a lot of like not only the like original gothic motifs that came from like the original Dracula, but like a lot of like classical gothic motifs and kind of being coming into like the modern movie and kind of being used in a very modern way. And I liked them being used in a very kind of unfamiliar setting, as we've said, which is on a boat at sea, which I appreciate because again, when it comes to gothic, it plays around with like nature and the majesty of nature, and so it's really good to like see the aspect of like weather and sea like kind of clashing into this. So I quite enjoyed it.
That's good. What would you give it out of 5? We're doing letterbox ratings.
Fair enough. I give it a solid 3, possibly a 3.5, depending on my mood.
Okay.
It was fun. It was fun. It wasn't something that you came out trying to think it would like change your life. It wasn't something to like.
I mean, it's the classics. Like you almost like expect already so much, but I think it fulfills as a classic.
It fulfills us. I think it's very entertaining and it does what it's supposed to do. It's not really trying to make you like think of like philosophical like aspects to it. I don't know. Maybe the majesty of nature and humanity and creation or whatever.
I mean, that's always Gothic.
Well, that's always Gothic, but it's not. How can I say? It's not trying to kind of be more than it is. It's not trying to be pretentious.
And it delivers for what it is.
And it delivers.
I mean, I agreed. I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
I thought it was an enjoyable, contained horror. I thought that all the Gothic elements served the Gothic elements that I needed. Some of the decisions of the characters were vexing, as we've gone through in this episode.
But you know what?
But it's somewhat forgivable because I think that we have a lot of pretentiousness. Knowing who Dracula is, being outsiders, not being riddled with fear and the unknown. So maybe we would make a similar mistake if we never heard of Dracula before, you know?
And this is the thing. Is it truly horror if you're not getting frustrated with the main characters?
What were you doing?
I don't know what rating I would give it out of 5, to be honest. I'm teetering on a 3.5 or maybe a 3. I liked it and I love the concept so much that I'm leaning towards a 3.5. But I think sometimes the execution kind of gets me a little bit.
Yeah.
I said, really good. Not the scariest. I don't think it was tense, but it wasn't like a scary horror film.
It was definitely like a very entertaining, like a fun, like a get you horror film.
Yeah. I liked the realistic gore and I liked the set design. It was really cool. It did bother me that all of the actions were taken during the nighttime, which would be said.
Yeah.
And a lot of the crew seemed kind of disposable and irrelevant. And it's like, fair enough, horror movies, people are going to get killed. But at the same time, there was this really nice scene at the dinner table where they're all discussing what they're going to do. If they had given us like a couple more scenes of that or character interactions, it wouldn't have taken long. It would have taken like 5 minutes tops.
Yeah.
And it would have made me care a lot more about the people who were dying. It would have like, we don't even remember half of their names until like half the movie's done.
Yeah.
And like, I just think that was such a waste considering that the few interactions we did have were actually quite good. And the actors were very good in it as well.
Yeah, the actors were great.
Good acting. Could have done more with the sound design. The only real thing that's done with the sound design is the knocking.
That was really cool.
But I think that they could have done more with the waves. They could have done more with the whispers, like leaning into the waves. I think would have been cool.
You know what I think would have been also really cool?
Yeah.
You know how Dracula tries to like kind of like fuck with them with the knocking?
Yeah.
How he mimics speech. I think it would have been really cool if he if he could like mimic like a speech or like the like other characters' voices to lure others in. I think that would have been like a pretty cool aspect too.
That would have been really cool.
That has to be such an underutilized.
Definitely would have been. It would have definitely added another element to his like mist and his like blindness abilities.
Yeah, but it had potential that I didn't think it realized. But the stuff that it did do, it did really well.
It definitely had potential to be an amazing film.
Yeah,
but it was still a good film.
It was still a good film.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to ask you guys, like, how do you feel about Dracula as a concept? Do you think it's overplayed? Do you like Dracula films? Yeah.
I really like Dracula. Well, not because he's the. Is he the like original Well, I know he's like the vampire that like everybody goes to. Regardless, I like Dracula as a concept because in the originality, Dracula was this kind of like beast. It was a representation of something more inhumane that was like that was human but not quite human, and. I don't know. And it's interesting, kind of expanding that more to a more of a creature-esque type of figure.
Yeah.
And I definitely loved that aspect of it. And now I kind of want to explore more of that side where he tries to kind of assimilate himself into regular society as well. Because part of horror as well is. Again, the uncanny, where you try to like fit in to like regular humanity. You try to make yourself homely, and there's something about you that doesn't quite make it. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you. That's my answer. You got any questions? Any final thoughts?
No.
Right. Well, that was the film. That was our thoughts.
Yeah.
Thank you to our guests for joining us.
Thank
our first
you
ever guest episode.
For being
Thank you
our
for
little
having
guinea
me.
pig.
Thank you for having me. I was glad to be a test subject.
We would shout her out, but she's not online.
No, she's not.
I'm an anonymous human being.
I'm just gonna say this.
Incel.
If you know most of our followers are people who know us at this particular moment. If you've messaged me and asked me to be on the podcast, because some of you have, and I've forgotten, this is your cue. DM me again, say, Dea, schedule me in.
Yeah.
Because this was our guinea pig. Now we've done a tester.
Yeah.
We're ready for you.
We want to get someone down who was like easier to get down.
Yeah.
So that if it didn't go well, then it was like no loss.
It was shit and we can just move on.
But we kind of figured it out.
Yeah, we did. I think we did all right.
I think we're ready for other people now.
Yes.
It was great.
So DM me, DM Reece.
Yeah.
You know, let us know to pencil you in because we'll happily have you.
And for those who might not know us, check out our socials.
Yes.
Instagram, TikTok.
Twitter that we don't use.
Twitter we don't use should be listed below. Check those out. Follow us.
Yes. But above those will always be our important links that you need to look at if you're a good person, please. BDS campaign, Palestine Solidarity campaign, Palestine Action. Look at them, research them, be good. Underneath that, you'll find us. Okay?
So you got to go through it.
Yeah. Thank you for watching and have a happy Halloween.
Have a happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. It's here. No, I'm joking. Bye.
Bye.